The New York Mets are preparing for the arms race in the National League. Their hopes rest upon the young pitching staff led by sophomore sensations Jason Isringhausen and Bill Pulsipher. Today, rookie phenom Paul Wilson will make his first pitch to take the Mets to the next level. Coming up, the Mets and the Braves. You're looking at Municipal Stadium in West Palm Beach, Florida, spring training home of the Atlanta Braves. It is overcast and windy here for the first game of 1996 spring training. The Mets and the Braves, but Dallas Green, the manager of those New York Mets, hoping for sunshine throughout 1996. Hello again, everybody. I'm Fran Healy along with Ralph Kiner. Howie Rose will join us later on during spring training. And Ralph Kiner, if there was one word to describe the Mets spring training, what would it be?
I guess I'd pick the word exciting. This is probably the most exciting start for the New York Mets in this decade. The Mets, of course, have had some exciting years, but you can look forward to this year with some real anticipation. We've got some outstanding new faces and an outstanding pitching staff, and it should be a great year for the New York Mets.
Well, two of the reasons the spring is exciting. One is the shortstop, Ray Ordonez.
Ray Ordonez, who was born in Cuba, defected from Cuba, acquired by the Mets in the lottery that they had for Cuban defectors, and they talk about him in the same way they talked about Ozzie Smith when he broke in with the San Diego Padres. He is an outstanding prospect. You're going to like him.
Well, he's one of the reasons in today's game there's excitement. The other reason, and the spotlight is on the big right-hander who's starting today, Ralph.
Well, Paul Wilson, drafted #1 in the nation a couple of years ago, and he has all the credentials of a Tom Seaver. He certainly will be making his debut with the New York Mets. He's never pitched in a ball game in the major leagues. 6'5", 235. Look for him. He is something else.
And he dominated in the minor leagues last year, but he did not rest on his laurels. Here in spring training, he's been working on some things. And Bob Wolf from News 12 talked to Paul Wilson about what he's working on.
They said they want me to get my times at home, holding runners on a little bit better. I mean, big leg kick was pretty slow, so you know that they were getting a lot of base stealing and a lot of stuff. So we wanted to slow that down a little bit. We wanted to quicken my times to the plate, and I think the curveball. You know, I just incorporated the curveball. You know, I've had a 3-pitch pitcher all my life, and all of a sudden I thought this 4th pitch in there. So I've been trying to work on that and trying to get that a consistent pitch. So I think if I work on those two aspects of my game, I think I'll be ready.
Well, we talked about that spotlight on Paul Wilson today. Two of his buddies, the spotlight also on Jason Isringhausen and Bill Pulsipher. They are not here today, but they're in the news. As far as the Mets are concerned, we are told that the Mets will renew both players tomorrow, Ralph. I wonder if that's going to be a sensitive issue.
Well, that's going to be a political thing that has to be worked out. Of course, they're both New York Mets and will be for quite some time. It's a technical thing that they have to work out, but they'll be on the mound for the Mets.
Surprisingly, those three guys don't throw the hardest in spring training. It's a pitcher they picked up from the Colorado Rockies, Juan Acevedo. We'll talk more about the Mets pitching staff, but right now we're going to step away. When we come back, we'll give you the starting lineups. Back here at Municipal Stadium, West Palm Beach, Florida. Once again, Fran Healy with Ralph Kiner. Howie Rose will join us later on in spring training. As Ralph mentioned, a lot of excitement surrounding the New York Mets. Of course, a lot of excitement here in West Palm Beach. The world champion Atlanta Braves will take on that lineup right there. Gary Thurman leading off, playing center field. He'll be followed by the phenom Ray Ordonez, and then the right fielder Carl Everett. The middle three, Butch Husky. A lot of pressure on Butch Husky. He's out of options. Chris Jones at first base, then Alex Ochoa, the left fielder. The bottom three, Edgardo Alfonzo, the new catcher, Brent Mayne, and then the pitcher, Paul Wilson.
And going against that lineup, we have Jason Smith, 6'5", born in Kelso, Washington. He lives there, and the Braves' 8th round selection in the June 1981 draft. He was with the Braves a little bit last year, and he came up with a record of 2 wins and 2 losses at Richmond He was 8-6 in the minor leagues and led the league in earned run average.
And the defense for the Braves, McGriff at first, Limke at second, Belliard the shortstop, and Jones over at third. Klesko in left, Walton in center, and Dwight Smith in right. Lopez behind the plate. Well, the Atlanta Braves, as you can tell, pretty much intact, Ralph, coming into this season.
The world champions, and of course they had a great pitching staff, and the Mets are hoping to emulate the success of the Atlanta Braves when they bring out their young pitching staff. That's what Atlanta did back in the years before their World Championship. For the New York Mets, Gary Thurman will be the leadoff batter. Thurman hitting .300 at Tacoma last year in 93 ball games. He was purchased by the Mets as a 6-year minor league free agent. He was Kansas City's first-round draft choice back in 1983. Thurman hit .320 for Seattle in the American League in a total of 13 ball games in a short stint in the National League. And there's the first strike, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Thurman in center field for the New York Mets. Mets playing their first game. The Braves played yesterday against the University of Georgia, and they won that ball game 2-1. And they're saying that Georgia is the second best team in the National League after almost beating the Atlanta Braves in that first exhibition game.
One of the reasons Thurman is in the lineup and not Lance Johnson, Dallas Green wants to bring some of the players along slowly because of the length of the season.
Well, that's going as a swinging strike on the check swing. Bruce Froemming, the home plate umpire. Dallas Green looking on from the bench. Dallas stayed up at Port St. Lucie to watch some of his players work out, and then came down here late just prior to the ball game.
Good movement on his fastball up in the strike zone. Thurman unable to catch up with it.
Schmidt is scheduled to be the 5th starter for the Atlanta Braves. He shows some good promise. And it's Ray Ordonez who is the batter now. Ray, of course, the talk of every place that he has been while playing in the United States. Fly ball out into right center field for a base hit. And Ordonez comes up with that base hit. The one thing that they're wondering about with Ordonez is whether or not he'll be able to handle the bat.
Well, I talked to Tom McCraw before the ball game. He thinks he will handle the bat as well as Ozzie Smith has swung the bat over the years. And here he is picking up a base hit into shallow right field. He's a guy that's going to just have to push the ball all over the infield, try to put it through the holes and not try to swing too hard. But Bobby Wine told me he's the best shortstop he has seen. And Bobby Wine has been in his game a long, long time.
Sort of has a build like Louis Aparicio, and he has an arm like Aparicio, and that's saying an awful lot as Carl Everett steps into the batter's box. Everett last year going down to the minor leagues and coming back and doing a good job at Norfolk. He hit .300 with 6 home runs in 67 ball games.
When he struggled last year in the major leagues, was sent down to the minor leagues, upon being recalled, he was just inserted into the 3rd hole immediately. And it paid off because it built his confidence up, and he did very well after he was recalled from the minor leagues. Dallas Green said he has the potential to hit 40 home runs.
And that pitch swung on and missed. Fastball by Schmidt. They count at strike 2. Everett, a real outstanding athlete, has surprising power for a small man. Runner at first base with 1 man out, and the fastball there fouled away as Everett was behind that pitch.
If Everett starts in right field, the Mets would prefer to have Ochoa and Payton go to the minor leagues. They don't want those 2 guys sitting on the bench in the major leagues.
And of course, the main thing that you have to look at are options, and as Fran pointed out earlier, Butch Husky is out of options, so the Mets either have to keep him or put him on waivers.
Husky never really got, in my opinion, a fair shot in the major leagues. I'd be reluctant to option him out and lose him to another club. He was the player of the year in the International League last year.
Husky, the on-deck batter, as the Mets have a runner at first base with 1 man out, and Everett takes the fastball. Count 1-1. Everett went to the same high school as Doc Gooden and also Gary Sheffield. Originally selected by the Yankees as a first-round draft choice, he was 10th in the nation 10th player selected that year. That was the June 1990 draft. Also has played for the Florida Ball Club in the National League. And that pitch taken low. Fastball, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Jason Schmidt, who you're watching today for the Braves, is penciled in as their 5th starter. Braves very high on him. High on his potential. Didn't really dominate in the minor leagues.
Fastball, a sinker type fastball, has that boring action, hard to hit the ball in the air. And the runner going with a pitch, a swing and a miss, a throw high but in time. And Lopez gets the strikeout double play to end the inning. So the Mets no runs, 1 hit, no one left on base, and after 1/2 inning, the Mets nothing. The world's champion Atlanta Braves coming up.
Well, back here in Municipal Stadium in West Palm Beach, Florida, the Mets are on the field. Paul Wilson taking his warm-up tosses. Now let's take a look at the Braves lineup. There's Bobby Cox, the manager. Jerome Walton leading off, to be followed by Mark Lemke and then Chipper Jones. The middle 3, the powerful Fred McGriff, the powerful Ryan Klesko, number 5, and then Dwight Smith. The bottom 3, Javier Lopez, a budding superstar here in the major leagues, to be followed by Rafael Belliard and the young right-hander Jason Schmidt.
And making his first appearance for the New York Mets is Paul Wilson. He's 6'5", 235 pounds, drafted number 1 in the nation by the New York Mets. Born and raised in Orlando, Florida, not far from here, and lives in Sun City. So Paul Wilson going for the Mets, and Jerome Walton will be the leadoff batter, and he takes inside for ball 1.
I'll guarantee you the Braves are very interested in this pitcher, Paul Wilson.
Wilson back again with a fastball. It's topped out to third, where Husky has it to throw to first base for the out. Jerome Walton, who was Rookie of the Year for the Cubs in 1989, the first out for Wilson.
Defensively for the Mets, Jones, Alfonso, Ordonez, and Husky in the infield. Ochoa, Thurman, and Everett in the outfield. May behind the plate. Now, Todd Hundley will not be catching for at least 10 days with the New York Mets, still struggling from that operation on his left wrist.
And that'll bring up Mark Lemke, who usually and did for most of his career bat in the 8th position in the batting order. Last season, they moved him to the 2nd spot, and he responded extremely well. Lemke, 5'9", an outstanding defensive ball player, made only 5 errors for the Braves last year, while hitting .253, 5 home runs, a career high, and he had a 13-game hitting streak. Mark Lemke. And Wilson back again and missing with that one. So they count 2 balls and 1 strike.
Wilson has an overpowering fastball, curveball, and a changeup. He's worked hard down here.
Asked him about his changeup. It's a circle change. He puts his thumb and forefinger together to take the spin off the ball and to take off the speed on the ball.
Joe McIlvaine, in talking to Dallas Green the other day up in Port St. Lucie, said, should I pencil him in?
Ground ball to third. Ordonez with his first play, and the throw high, and it pulls the first baseman Jones off the bag. So the first time the Mets have seen Ordonez in the field here in a major league uniform, and we'll see how it's scored.
Never fails. You talk about him and everybody raves about a player. First time you see him, he makes an error. Too many people have talked about this kid, though. He throws the ball pulling Jones off the base. Looked like he tagged the base, but Lemke's on first.
So Lemke, the runner at first base, no official scoring on that play yet. I'd have to say it should be scored an error, although it did look like Jones might have gotten back to the bag before Lemke got to it. And they are scoring that as an error. So in his major league game, his first major league game, Ordonez, who is noted for defense, makes an error in his first chance. And a line drive to second, fielded by Alfonso, and the double play will end the inning. So each inning ending in the same way, 2 double plays, and the score at the end of 1 inning of play, the Mets nothing, the Braves nothing.
Everybody in baseball talking about Ray Ordonez. There he is right there in the Met dugout. We asked Dallas Green what would be his easiest decision this spring.
Well, it probably is shortstop right now. This kid, you know, he came in with some great adjectives. Everybody that has ever seen him play said he's really something special. And I'll tell you, he hasn't disappointed us in our workouts. He's been tremendous in the workout. Of course, we got to see him play a game, and we got to see him hit against big league pitching. But I feel comfortable this kid's going to be something special too.
First batter for the New York Mets, Butch Husky, and he fouls his first pitch into the stands out of play. Husky playing third base for the Mets today. Came up with the Mets hit 189 in 28 games last year.
Ralph, with those stats you just saw there on the screen, it's got to get you a long look. I mean, he could be, as we mentioned, he's out of options. The Mets could lose him. He was the player of the year in the International League.
MVP of the International League, had a tremendous year at Norfolk. Hit 28 home runs, drove in 87 runs in 109 games. While hitting .284, he's been in the Mets organization from day one.
But you don't hear much about him down here except that he's out of options.
And out of options, foul ball right there, means that the Mets cannot send him back to the minor leagues unless he clears waivers, and no one in their right mind is going to let this fellow go through waivers with the potential he has.
It's irrevocable waivers. Once he goes on a waiver list, they cannot pull him off.
That is the way ball players are picked up after they have spent the amount of time in the minor leagues to use up all their options. And that pitch fouled away.
He's never really been put in that lineup and said, here, this is your job until you lose it, and let him go for a few months and see if he can get acclimated in the major leagues. He obviously is a guy with a lot of power, and the one thing the Mets need is a guy who can pop the ball over the wall. He might be their answer.
When he was brought up from the minor leagues by the Mets last year, he was 0 for 7 and then picked up his first base hit. And it was off of Nomo of the Los Angeles Dodgers, Nadeo Nomo. He can make you look and pay attention in batting practice. He has tremendous power, but he also strikes out a lot. And that's his first at bat for the New York Mets this spring. Strikeout number 3 for Jason Schmidt.
Well, here's the Huskies striking out, and a lot of guys strike out a lot now. We talked about Mo Vaughn, a guy who was the most valuable player in the American League, struck out about 170 times last season, said that his goal this year is to cut his strikeouts down to about 100.
And that brings up Chris Jones. Jones, a fine year for the New York Mets last year, hit .280 with 8 home runs, 31 runs batted in, and was an outstanding pitch hitter. Led all the National League in pinch hitting with 10 pinch hits, batting .400. That's with a minimum of at least 25 at bats. Jones playing first base today. Bronya was scheduled to play first base, but he's had a bad back, and so he was the last minute scratch. So Chris Jones, who played a game at first base for the Mets last year, is now playing at first base today. Schmidt with good stuff this early in the spring. He's firing the ball well. Most of these pitchers have all been throwing for quite some time.
Some kids would be insane to come to spring training and not be in shape. Not the way they can make a living in this game today. Some players are ready. They're in midseason form when they show up in spring training.
A lot of them have played winter league baseball. Schmidt with a breaking ball there, just misses.
Bobby Cox, one of the most underrated managers in the game. Managed the world champions.
Bobby Cox was the general manager of the Atlanta Braves and assembled this team as a general manager, and then took over as manager when John Schuerholz was brought in to replace him.
Yeah, he and John Schuerholz get along very well. I asked Bobby Cox, since he saw all these good pitchers over the years, who was the best young pitcher in the minor leagues he ever saw.
And a good fastball there. That's strikeout number 4. So Schmidt has struck out 4 of his first 5 batters, and he now will take on Alex Ochoa.
Here's that last pitch to Jones. Threw the ball right by Jones. Good pitch. Bobby Cox told me the best young pitcher he has seen in the minor leagues. Ron Guidry.
Guidry, of course, with the Cincinnati Reds at that time.
No, Guidry was with the Yankees in the minor leagues.
Was he?
Yeah.
That's right. I was thinking Don Gullett. Don Gullett was a Cincinnati man who was an outstanding young pitcher.
Good stuff.
Well, you would have to eliminate Bob Feller from that equation because Feller never pitched in the minor leagues. That's strike 2 on Ochoa.
Here's a kid that everybody is predicting that he is going to be a good major league player, but Carl Everett might send him back to the minor leagues. They don't want him sitting on the bench. As I mentioned earlier, Jay Payton in the same situation.
And a fastball, strike 3. So Schmidt has struck out the side, and he has struck out 5 of his first 6 batters. And the score at the end of 1.5 innings, it is the Mets nothing, the Braves nothing.
Oh, Bruce Froemming, one of the better umpires in all of baseball, and I asked him a few moments ago what the umpires feel about enforcing the new strike zone.
There's not been much reaction. We had a league meeting last week in Tampa with both league presidents, and the new strike zone was discussed. But Frank, you're talking about 2.5 inches difference in a strike zone, and with a ball moving 80 to 100 miles an hour, I don't look for the game to speed up because of what they did with that. First of all, you have to have the pitchers to throw the strikes, and that's the key to speeding up the game. And it's not the shrinking strike zone. It's the pitchers being able to throw strikes.
My last question would be.
And we have Fred McGriff to lead it off for the Braves. The count of 1 ball and 1 strike. McGriff, after 7 years of hitting 30 or more home runs, was stopped short of 30 last year. McGriff, one of the outstanding power hitters in baseball, and this time he hits it in the air to left field. Alex Ochoa, the left fielder, will make the play and does. So McGriff is out. McGriff, an off year last year, but still having a good enough year to hit 27 home runs and add a 280 batting average.
Of course, they had the 144 games last year as opposed to the regular 162 games. That's why it's more amazing to look at what Albert Bell did. 50 home runs and 50 doubles.
First batter to do that, and he also was just fined $50,000. So that number 50 runs in the in the game with him. $50,000 for his tirade against Hannah Storm of NBC.
Biggest fine in the history of baseball.
Yeah, but not really. And here's the pitch back to Brian Klesko. Babe Ruth was fined $5,000 and was making $80,000 at the time. The $50,000 with Bell's salary of what, $3 million plus, maybe 4, isn't really the same percentage. It's a much lower percentage.
I notice you throw money around a lot when it's not yours.
As long as it's not mine. Babe Ruth was fined $5,000, and it's rather an interesting story. It was said that Babe Ruth got mad at his manager, Miller Huggins, who was managing the Yankees at the time. Ground ball to the second base side by Klesko, an outstanding hitter, and he is out. So Ruth picked up Miller Huggins and grabbed him by the ankles and held him out over the railroad tracks at the end of the train, the car train, the platform where they the platform where politicians stand and make their speeches. Well, Babe Ruth was holding Miller Huggins as a train was speeding down the tracks, and they fined him $5,000 for that.
I bet you if Babe couldn't hit, he'd have gotten released.
He would. Well, I guarantee you Miller Huggins would have let him go. Now the batter will be Dwight Smith, and he is a Mets killer. Smith has a career batting average against the Mets at .366. He and Jerome Walton, they're both playing in this ball game today, were 1-2 in the Rookie of the Year voting back in 1989, both playing for the Chicago Cubs. Dwight Smith with the Cincinnati Reds last year. And the fastball inside by Paul Wilson. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Wilson throwing hard today. We mentioned Jason Schmidt, the starting pitcher with the Braves. He's been overpowering.
Schmidt batted .252 with 3 home runs for the Cincinnati Reds last year, but he hit the most dramatic home run against the New York Mets of the year. The Braves had won only one game and were really struggling. They had lost 7 in a row, and they came back from a 7-run deficit. He won the ball game with a home run against the Mets. Missed that fastball. Wilson, with a lot of mustard on that one, picks up his first strikeout, and it's a 1-2-3 inning. So after 2, it's no score here in Florida. The Mets nothing and the Braves nothing. We come back to the 3rd. Well, back here in Palm Beach, we have the Mets and the Braves, and Wilson has pitched his 2 innings, and I believe that will be all for him here today. But he is going to bat. I asked him before the ball game, how did he hit? He says, I don't know. I'm going to find out. So he will be batting here. As in the bullpen for the New York Mets, we have Chris Nabholz continuing to throw, and he should be coming into the ball game.
Talked about Paul Wilson, and Joe McIlvaine said he was discussing Paul Wilson with Dallas Green as they were watching him throw up in Port St. Lucie, and he said, should I pencil him in? And Dallas looked at Joe and said, do it in ink. Does that mean you made the team?
Well, he hasn't made the roster yet. He is a
amazing.
non-roster player. That's the interesting thing. He is not on the Mets roster, and they have done that because of the option rule that they have in baseball.
And Ray Ordonez, another guy not on the roster, and yet they can affect this ball club so much if they have a bad spring. A guy like Ordonez can really affect it because players will be moving of this guy, and he'll be going back to short. But if Ordonez stays, players are going to be moving all over the place.
And Edgardo Alfonso with a fly ball off his first pitch into right center field, easing over as Jerome Walton, and he puts it away. So Alfonso, 1 pitch and 1 away, as Terrell Wade works on the mound for the Atlanta Braves. Incidentally, the Mets have 38 men on their roster. Every ball club in the major leagues can have 40 men on the roster, so there are 2 open spots. Guess who's going to get them? It is 1 away now, and Brett, the new catcher for the New York Mets, takes the first pitch for ball 1. Make that strike 1. Brett Maine, acquired from Kansas City, and Brett was the first-string catcher for Kansas City last year. Figures to be the backup catcher for the Mets this year to Randy Huntley, but might have the catching job at the start of the season a month from today when they open the season on April the 1st.
Well, he had more at bats last season as a Royal than Todd Hundley had as a Met. And Todd Hundley right now still nursing that bad wrist. He is swinging the bat well from the left side of the plate. He's struggling with the bat because of his wrist from the right side of the plate. And it's tough with some of these pitchers to catch them because they throw so hard.
And that pitch taken for a ball. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Brett Maine, an outstanding defensive catcher, batted .251 last year with only 1 home run in 110 games. He was acquired by the Mets for minor league player Al Shirley, and that pitch taken for ball 3. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Maine, a Southern California boy, born in Loma Linda, California. That's in the LA area. Ground ball to the second base side. Mark Lemke, who made only 5 errors last year, picks up the out. And we'd like to remind you about tonight's hockey game, the Islanders and the Devils, live tonight at 7:30. Sports Authority game time at 7 p.m. And that'll be right here on Sports Channel. 2 men away, and Paul Wilson the batter. And now it's going to be a pinch hitter for Paul Wilson as Terrell Wade looks in for the sign. Then the pitch is swung on and missed.
Paul Gomez is the batter. Pinch hitting for Paul Wilson.
Gomez with a count of strike 1. And he takes that one right through for strike 2. The 2-strike pitch topped out to the third base side over to field. It is Wade. He has an easy play and picks up the out.
to end the inning. So the Mets threw the first 9 batters in the batting order with only 1 base hit. That was erased on a double play. And the score at the end of 2.5 innings here in Florida, it's the Mets nothing and the Braves nothing.
Well, promotional consideration provided for today's ball game. Indian River Plantation Beach Resort in Stuart, Florida. There's the 1-800 number. Terrific resort in Jensen Beach. Ralph, you tend to relax when you're at that resort?
Very, very beautiful place. Golf course, tennis courts, swimming pool, everything. And on the mound for the Mets, Chris Nabholz, 29 years of age. He's been around a while, 6'5", another big pitcher, 217 pounds. He was signed as a free agent in November 1995. That's a 6-year minor league free agent. Chris Nabholz.
They're looking at Nabholz as a middle relief pitcher from the left side.
And his first pitch to Javier Lopez hit out to left field on the line. A good quick play by Alex Ochoa, and 1 pitch and 1 away by Nabholz.
Javier Lopez is a guy who is a fine catcher with the Braves. Caught about 100 ball games last year. Charlie O'Brien caught a lot of games. Charlie no longer with the ball club, and they expect Javier Lopez now to up his production in games caught as far as 40 games. They hope to get 140 games out of the young catcher. I think it's a good idea, the way he can hit.
Outstanding hitter, hit .315 last year for the Braves, and a great prospect. And again on the first pitch, a ground ball hit to the shortstop by Belliard, and Raphael quickly thrown out. So 2 pitches and 2 men out.
2 balls hit to Ordonez in his ball game. First ball hit him in the first inning. He picked up an error. I'm sure everybody with the Mets and their dugout very surprised, because you talk especially to the pitching staff and they rave about Ray Ordonez. Butch Husky told me he makes him a better third baseman. With Ordonez is short, he doesn't have to cover as much ground.
All they say his range is just unbelievable. And the first pitch to the batter, Wade, Terrell Wade, taken for ball 1. Wade loops one into left field. It'll drop in, and it does for a base hit. Ordonez going a long way for that ball, but unable to get to it as it is fielded on the hop by Ochoa. So the first hit for the Braves, even with that power-packed lineup, goes to the pitcher.
How much hang time right there. Ball dropping in front of Alex Ochoa.
That puts a runner at first base with 2 men away and brings up Jerome Walton for the second time. Walton grounded out to third his first time up. Jones, the first baseman for the Mets, not holding the pitcher on at first base, playing behind him, and the first pitch is ball 1. No score in the game. We're in the bottom half of the 3rd inning. Mets against the world's champions, the Atlanta Braves. And there's a strike call by Bruce Freeman.
As Ralph mentioned, Jones playing behind the runner at first base was a pitcher, and Wade is a guy that's going to hang around first base. I'm really surprised, Ralph, that baseball hasn't focused on pitchers stealing bases.
And they pitch outside ball 1. I guess the main reason is you don't want him sliding into second base and breaking in a leg or what have you.
You know what? They have enough time to practice sliding here in spring training. They do more running than anybody else in the team. They should be in shape to steal bases.
Well, if you don't like the fact that they don't steal bases, go to the American League. They don't even bat over there.
It keeps them right off the base, huh?
That really solves that problem. They count 3 balls and 1 strike to Jerome Walton. We mentioned that Walton was the rookie of the year for the Cubs in 1989. He had 30 infield hits, and 18 of them were bunt base hits. Sort of tells you something about his speed. And there's an infield ball that will be a base hit. No way to get him. And they throw to second base for the play there, but the pitcher, Wade, gets back safely. So there's one of those typical Jerome Walton base hits. Walton, after being the rookie of the year, was sent back to the minor leagues and had to work his way back to the majors.
Here it is again. Walton swinging and hitting the ball off the end of the bat and legging out a base hit.
So a runner now at second base, a runner at first with 2 men out, and Mark Lemke will be the batter.
I think he'd be insulted, though, to hear that that's a typical Jerome Walton base hit.
Well, the player's probably yelling out, "Don't lose those wheels, or you're a goner." And the pitch to the batter. Lemke is taken for strike one. Lemke, a switch hitter, was safe on an error his first time up. And the fastball fouled back out of play. Lemke in 1991 was the Braves' most valuable player in the World Series.
He's a favorite of Bobby Cox. Bobby Cox feels Lemke's the best second baseman in the National League. He's certainly overlooked when you talk about the Braves.
Had a good year as a batter for Lemke. Hit 253. Career high of 5 home runs as he drills this one down in the left field, and it is a foul ball. So Lemke comes back to home plate, and he'll try it again. He led the club in 3 base hits last year. He had 3 base hits to tie a major league record in the World Series of 1991. So the triple, not an unusual type of base hit for him.
Speaking of triples, Lance Johnson not in his ball game, led the American League about 4 straight years in triples.
And this one grounded to the shortstop Ordonez, who gloves it, flips it, gets him, side retire. So 2 hits and 2 left to score at the end of 3. It's the Mets nothing, the Braves nothing.
Well, no score. The Mets and the Braves here in West Palm Beach, Florida. We had a chance to talk to Dallas Green about this pitching staff, and I asked him if it's the best he has seen in all his years in baseball.
I've been around a long time, and 41 years is right. And this is a great group of kids. They really are. And not only because they got great arms, they got great work ethic. They got the desire that they want to be a good big league pitcher, and that really helps the manager because I feel very comfortable that when they go out there, I'm getting 100% and I'm going to get something special out of them. This is a special group of kids. We're going to try to take good care of them. They showed that they can do a pretty good job last year. They just have to be a little bit more consistent, and I feel very comfortable with my pitching staff.
Dallas Green talking about his pitching staff, and for the Mets here in the top of the 4th inning, Gary Thurman to bat for the 2nd time, and he singles the left field off of Terrell Wade. So the Mets get their 2nd hit of the game. Thurman had struck out his first time up.
And we're joined in the booth now by the general manager with the New York Mets, Joe McElvain. Ralph.
Hello, Ralph.
What do you say, Joe?
I'm fine. How are you doing? Nice to see you again.
Thank you. You got to see your big man, Paul Wilson, work for the first time here in a major league uniform.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, you know, watching Jason Smith and watching Paul Wilson, you might be watching the 2 candidates of the pitchers in the National League for Rookie of the Year. I wouldn't be surprised. They both threw very well.
And now for the Mets, another candidate for Rookie of the Year, Ray Ordonez, who singled his first time up. And Joe McElvain, no question about the glove of Ray. The question is, what about his bat?
Well, he's getting better, Ralph. You know, he's only played 2 full seasons in the minor leagues. And he really had a good winter this year in Puerto Rico. I think his bat really started to come alive. He's got really 2 pluses. First thing is he's going to put the ball in play. And second is he's a good RBI man.
He has driven in a very large amount of runs for a fellow who doesn't hit with much power and also doesn't really have high batting averages.
Well, one thing I think you'll see this year with the Mets team is we're going to put the ball in play more than we did last year. We have more players that have a better ratio of less strikeouts to at-bats, and he's going to be a contributor there because he'll only strike out 1 out of 10 or 11 times.
And the runner going with the pitch is grounded in the hole.
Beautiful.
Left by the shortstop. It's a beautifully executed hit and run play, and Thurman goes all the way over to third. So a perfectly executed hit and run play by Ordonez.
Joe, you're going to have a lot more activity in the base paths this year. Is this something you discussed as we look at Ray Ordonez executing the hit and run to perfection?
Yeah, Fran, that's one thing we've really tried to concentrate on this winter. We've been working extremely hard during the first 10 days of spring training about base stealing, about base running, taking the extra base, and I think you're going to see a much more active team on the bases this year. We have personnel now that can do more of that as well, particularly among the outfielders.
Lance Johnson and also Bernard Gilkey, two of the players that you acquired, will fill that spot.
Right, and the guy at the plate is you're going to see an improved stolen base ratio from him as well.
And the guy at the plate is Carl Everett. Everett struck out into a double play his first time up. Mets with a mini threat in the first, and they now have a major threat here in the fourth with runners at first and third and no one out, and the heart of their batting order coming up. Everett, the batter, and he fouls off the fastball. On the mound, Terrell Wade, who came in the ball game in the third and retired the Mets in order.
Joe, I asked Dallas Green what his most difficult decision would be this spring and his easiest decision this spring. What about your decisions? Easiest and most difficult?
Most difficult are pitchers and the outfielders. That's going to be the most difficult because you're dealing with talent. I think the easiest decisions are probably still among the pitchers. You know who they're going to be. You're just not sure who's going to beat who out. We really have some quality pitchers on our staff, and I think that's what's going to be the thing that's going to propel us this year.
1 ball, 2 strikes. The count on Carl Everett. And it's 2-2. Terrell Wade, big, strong left-hander, working his second inning.
You know, Ralph, Carl Everett's about 10 pounds heavier this year than when he came in last year to spring training, and it's muscle and just maturity. He was about 155 pounds when he signed originally with the Yankees, and now he's about 200. So he's really grown up into a man here in the last few years.
And that one gets away from the catcher, Javier Lopez, and the Mets get the first run of the game as Thurman scores from third base. Ordonez goes down to second, and the Mets lead it by a score of 1-0. We'll see how it's scored. Probably scored as a pass ball.
It's got to be a pass
Yeah,
ball.
no question.
Nothing more frustrating to a catcher than this happening to you. Hit right off the thumb area of the glove. Now, I'll tell you, the things you say when you chase that ball back to the backstop, it's amazing. Now, the best thing to do also when you're a catcher, go out and talk to the pitcher, even if you're talking to him about the weather, but get everybody to believe that he crossed you up. That's what I used to do immediately. Go out there like a good pitch.
Little inside baseball, folks. Make sure you don't get the blame.
That's right.
Not whether you won or lost, but how you place the blame. That's the way it is. So the Mets leading 1-0, and Everett with the count full. And a runner at second base. And he pops it up on the second base side. Lemke, the second baseman. And he puts it away, and Ordonez stays at second base.
So we were talking about the three guys that the spotlight has been on here. Paul Wilson, who pitched today, Jason Isringhausen, and Bill Pulsipher. But the hardest thrower in camp is not one of those three.
Yeah, it's probably Juan Acevedo. I mean, he just was wowing the hitters in the spring with his fastball. He just has great velocity. If you just put the gun on him, pure velocity, I think he'll light it up the highest.
Is he going to make the team?
Well, he's a candidate. You know, that remains to be seen, Fred.
And now probably the #1 problem for Joe McIlvaine, who's sitting in here with us, the general manager of the New York Mets. The batter, Butch Husky, who struck out his first time up. Butch Husky is out of the options. So the Mets cannot send him back to the minor leagues.
So 28 home runs, player of the year in the International League. If that was you, what would you say?
Well, he's going to make the club. It's just a question of what role is he going to play. You know, is he right now? I think of Kevin Mitchell in 1986 when he came up and brought a lot of gloves with him and played a lot. His best position was batter, and I think Husky's kind of the same way. You know, his best position is batter.
And the pitch to Husky ripped to left field. It's hit too hard to score the runner unless the throw is not in line, and it is not in time. Wow, that ball was hit hard. There's a little example of what kind of power Husky has. He hit a clothesline to left field, and the Mets now lead at 2-0.
Very surprised Ray Ordonez was able to score on that ball.
Well, they're taking advantage of Klesko on that. Klesko's arm isn't the best arm in the league. And, you know, again, I think what Dallas is trying to do in these early games is really be aggressive. There you see it on your screen. Klesko's throw. It wasn't a bad throw. But Ordonez just slid under it and beat it. He had a good jump off second. He made a good turn at third base. He really cut the base sharp.
Well, one of the things Bobby Cox has been doing since he moved Klesko to left field is late in the ball game he gets him out of there because of his glove and his arm.
Well, another bonus on that play at the plate was the fact that Husky could go on down to second and pick up the extra base, so the Mets still have a runner in scoring position. Lead by a score of 2-0, and Chris Jones, the batter. Jones was struck out his first time up. Ordonez.
You know, Ralph, on that play, Ordonez doesn't have great speed, but he has quickness. If you clock him on your watch to first base, he's an average runner. But he really took advantage on that play. He read the play immediately, was off, made a good turn at third, and, you know, a split-second play, he just beat the throw.
And that pitch high and outside for a ball.
Now you see him on your screen there. He got off right away. Watch this turn now. Didn't waste anything. Perfect turn. Good slide. Just beat the throw.
Now the pitch back to the plate way high, and they got 3 balls and 1 strike. He would have to be pretty quick because he defected from the Havana Cuba team over the outfield fence at the Buffalo Ballpark in Buffalo, New York.
That's right.
That's where he got that speed.
Did you chase him down the street to try to sign him?
Well, you know, actually it was fortuitous because we got him in the lottery, and the last player that the Mets got in a lottery situation was Tom Seaver. So we knew when we got him it was a good omen.
And the pitch back to the plate to Jones, taken for a called strike. Seaver, when he was picked up illegally, signed by the Atlanta Braves, there were only 3 teams that put their name in the hat to acquire the possible contract. Cleveland, Philadelphia, and the Mets. The Mets won it. How many teams put their name in the hat for the Cuban refugees?
Well, here's the way that worked was if you had the worst record in baseball the year before, which happened to be the New York Mets, we got to put our name in 28 times. And then if you were the second worst team, you got to put your name in 27 times and so on down the line. So nobody knows how many teams put in. But that's the way it worked, and then they pulled one out, and fortunately and fortuitously it was us.
It said New York Mets on it, and the Mets have one of the great potential ball players for a shortstop.
Now, Joe, there's been some question about Ordonez's bat. We talked about it earlier. How patient will the Mets be with his bat?
Well, you have to be, Fran, because of what he provides you on defense. You know, the team in Norfolk last year estimated he saved or won 10 games for them with his glove. And if that is true, I mean, if that is the case, and he can do that especially for a strong pitching staff, he's worth his weight in gold just on defense. You know, remember, he's only played 2 full seasons in the minor leagues. He's up before his time.
And now with a runner at third base and 2 men out, the batter will be Alex Ochoa, who was struck out his first time up. Ochoa acquired in the Bobby Bonilla deal, played in a few ball games with the New York Mets at the end of the season last year. Got a hit his first time up.
Looked very good this winter in the Dominican Republic too, Ralph.
And he fouls off the fastball.
With that in mind, Joe, and the great reports everybody in baseball has on Ochoa, how difficult will it be to send him back to the minor leagues if Everett produces on an everyday basis with the Mets?
Well, we don't want him sitting on the bench. Whoever's going to win that job of the young players is going to win it outright, and the guy who does not will go back and play every day.
Ground ball to the first base side. Fred McGriff will make the play, and that will end the inning, but not before the Mets get 2 on 3 hits and leave 1. So at the end of 3.5 innings here in Florida, it's the New York Mets 2 and the Atlanta Braves nothing. The 1996 New York Mets, the start of something big. Season tickets for the 1996 season are on sale now. For information, call 718-507-TIXX during business hours. Well, opening day just a month away from this date today, March the 1st. So April 1st, opening day, 1:40 p.m. The Cardinals will be in town, the St. Louis Cardinals. And it will be True Value Cap Day. And that'll be given away to all the paying customers. For more information, call 718-507-TIXX. Opening day, April the 1st.
Joe, prior to the ball game, Dave Howard talking to the media, discussing the possibility that you guys might re-sign or renew, I should say, Bill Pulsipher and Jason Isringhausen tomorrow.
Well, we're going to talk with them tomorrow and conclude the contract. We always try to finish them by the first game. There were some logistical problems that held things up yesterday. So we will resolve that one way or the other by the time tomorrow ends.
So you're not sure if it'll be a renewal?
Well, you know, a renewal means that you can't reach agreement, and then the club gives them a salary figure. You hope not to do that. I've never had to renew a player while I've been here. I hope that that's not the case. We'll find out more tomorrow.
Is there a sensitivity to it?
That depends who you are and how you look at it, really. You're going to play. It's just a question of what your salary is.
And the question of what the salary is of the current batter, Chipper Jones. It's about $2.5 million in his second year in the majors. Off the glove of Husky, he has no play, and although a very difficult chance right there, a possibility it could be scored in there. Line shot to Husky, who got a glove on it, but Chipper Jones gets first base.
Could be scored in error, but Ralph, how about those days when they used to call it too hot to handle?
That's when they didn't have the gloves they got
That's
today.
right. That ball should have been caught right there. He got his glove in the ball. Ball just popped right out of his glove.
Well, Fran, they're breaking in a lot of those new gloves this time of year. You know, spring training, you got to break in those new ones.
Now
the Rawlings man was just around the other day to give out the new gloves.
Joe McElvain is saying that statement. Now, Joe was a pitcher in his professional days. He would say that's an error, that's for sure.
If he was on the mound right now, he'd be livid.
No.
How could that man drop that ball?
I think you look at it the other way. I think you try to pick up your teammate. You know, when a guy miscues on you, he's going to make a great play for you at some time too. So you got to pick him up once in a while.
Did you ever play with Gaylord Perry?
No, I didn't. Not that old.
Ground ball by the first baseman, Jones, and it'll be a base hit. So Chipper Jones leads off the inning with a base hit. And Fred McGriff singles by Jones, the first baseman for the Mets, and runners now at first and second with no one out. Mets leading 2-0, and the Atlanta Braves with a rally going.
Ralph, we brought 4 left-handed pitchers in here this year to try and find one that can be the guy that's going to come in and get left-hand hitters out. You're seeing Chris Nabholz today. Probably the most impressive of the 4 has been Pedro Martinez, who was acquired from San Diego. You'll see him later in the week. We've also got Bob McDonald here, who pitched some for the Yankees, and we have a fellow by the name of Steve Dixon, who's pitched a little bit for the St. Louis Cardinals and the Chicago Cubs. So we're hoping out of those 4 to come up with one that'll really be able to help us in the big leagues this year.
And this one popped up by Ryan Klesko down in foul territory. Over there to make the play is Alfonso. Make that Chris Jones, and Jones makes the play, and Chipper Jones holds at second base. So runners still at first and second with 1 man out, and Dwight Smith will be the batter.
I think you'll see Chris Jones and Butch Husky play a lot of first base here in the spring, just as an opportunity to look in case Rico Brogna would get hurt, or maybe we'd face a tough left-hander at times. You know, they would probably then do some playing at first base. We used Tim Bogar some there last year too, and I think you'll see Tim Bogar, you know, play all over like he did last year.
Will Husky see some outfield play too?
Yes, I think he'll bring a first baseman's glove, a third baseman's glove, and an outfielder's glove.
A sporting goods manufacturer's delight right there as Dwight Smith steps into the batter's box. Smith struck out his first time up.
Husky really hadn't played first before, and we put him over there in the 10 days we've been here, so we brought him in early to camp. And he's a natural there. He took to it very easily. He's got good range, and he can catch the ball. He got soft hand.
And Smith takes that pitch for a ball. Incidentally, that scoring on the drive that Chipper Jones hit down to Husky was scored as a base hit. Now Nabholz, the pitcher for the Mets, misses with that pitch, and it's a 2-ball, no strike count. Mets leading 2-0, but the world's champion Atlanta Braves with runners at first and second, 1 out, bottom half of the 4th inning. Chris Nabholz, the pitcher in the ball game, in relief of Paul Wilson, who worked the first 2 innings and retired the 6 batters that he faced with the help of a double play. The only batter to get on base, Mark Lemke, and he got on base on an error. So Wilson in his debut for the New York Mets looking good. And there's a drive to right. That'll score a run. Jones comes in to score. The throw is into the first baseman. The tag at first base is not made. And
Jones managed it up
background
here.
you're hearing the noise is
I'm
Joe
sorry.
McElvain rooting for tagging on the play.
There's the inexperience of the first baseman. He had him right in front of him, and he was looking toward third, and all he had to do was reach back and tag him. He had an easy out.
Ball was thrown hard from the outfield also. Jones going over to Nabholz and giving the ball, was shaking his hand to see Chipper Jones. Look at Chipper. He tripped over home plate.
So it's now a 2-1 ball game as Chipper Jones scores on the single by Dwight Smith. And Joe McElvain, who is sitting in with us, I think you should get Dwight Smith just so you could keep him from batting against the Mets. His lifetime average 366 against the Mets. Yeah. Unbelievable what he does to the New York Mets as Dallas Green looks on. There is Dwight Smith, who started his career with the Chicago Cubs.
You know, one of the things you're looking at with Nabholz is his ability to get left-hand hitters out. And here he's had McGriff come up with a hit, Smith come up with a hit. He got Klesko out, but he's got to get those left-handers out to have a chance to make this step.
And the right-hander he is facing is Javier Lopez. Lopez flied out the left field his first time up.
And Joe, how much time do you give a guy like Chris Nabholz, for example? He has struggled against left-handers today.
Well, I mean, this is the first game for him. We're going to play 31 games, and he's a veteran pitcher. You know, he's pitched 5 or 6 years in the big leagues. He's won 30-some games in the big leagues. You're going to stay with him and see how it falls.
And this one hit in foul territory. Chris Jones over to look as he goes into the bleachers.
When Nabholz first came up with the Montreal Expos, he was a tough left-hander.
Well, that's right. He was a starting pitcher all the way, and he did well with Montreal. I think he won 32 games in 4 years, and he was doing fine. Had a couple double-digit seasons where he won double-digit victories. But since that time, he's really fallen a lot more on hard times. He's had some injuries, and now he's really a spot lefty. A guy's got to come in and get your left-hand hitters out. So that's what's really critical to watch this spring, see how he's doing against the left-hand hitters.
And that pitch a ball, so they count 2 balls and 1 strike.
When you talk to Joe McElvain, you have to ask, could there be a trade during spring training?
Oh, for a left-hand pitcher you're talking about, or for anything?
For anything.
Oh, sure. I mean, we've got our scouts out watching every team in baseball, just as there's a contingent of scouts down here below today from a lot of the other ball clubs. And if there's a matchup, we'll try and consider that.
And this one popped up, just missing, getting some big wood on this ball. And the left fielder, Alex Ochoa, making the play. Javier Lopez flying out the left field for the second time. Well, the Seattle Supersonics and the Nets live tomorrow at 7:30. Sports Authority game time at 7 p.m. And that'll be exclusively on Sports Channel. Seattle Supersonics and the Nets.
Nets have been playing some good basketball lately.
They're
Sean
going to have
Bradley.
to. That's Seattle. That's some tough ball club. So now 2 men away, and Rafael Belliard is the batter. Rafael saw 1 pitch his first time up and grounded out to short. He sees 1 pitch this time up, and he flies out to center field if that ball comes down, and it does. So that's the end of the inning. 1 run on 3 hits and 2 men left on base, and the score at the end of 4. It's the Mets 2 and the Braves 1. Back here at West Palm Beach, the Mets leading by a score of 2-1. We're going to the top of the 5th inning. The Mets scoring 2 runs in the 4th inning, and the Braves getting 1 back in the bottom half of the 4th. And we have a new pitcher in the ball game, Brad Woodall, for the Atlanta Braves. Chris Nabholz, I should say, is going out of the ball game. He worked 2 innings for the New York Mets, and he will be out of the ball game. Changes for the Atlanta Braves. They have made some wholesale changes, to say the least, as Brad Woodall steps in. 4-4 with a 5.10 ERA in 11 game starts, and the first batter is Edgardo Alfonso for the Mets. Alfonso flied out to center field his first time up.
Ralph, we've got in left field for the Atlanta Braves, and this is true. This is his real name. Wonderful, terrific Mons III is playing left field now for the Atlanta Braves.
That is outstanding. And that is ground ball. So there have been a junior. There's a junior, wonderful, terrific.
Well, he's the third, so there's two of them ahead of him.
Yeah, okay.
That was Pablo Martinez at shortstop.
Pablo Martinez, the new shortstop in place of Rafael Belliard. We have Tony Raffiano is at second base in place of Mark Lemke. And the batter for the New York Mets is Brent Maine, who grounded out to second base his first time up.
Third baseman, Ralph, is Robert Smith, and the first baseman is Tyler Houston, their former #1 draft choice, #2 pick in the whole country out of high school in Las Vegas. So it's a whole new infield.
Tyler Houston is going to be used as a utility player in his ball club.
Tyler Houston was signed as a catcher, and they're now trying with first base.
And this ball hit out to right field, being chased down in right field by number 67, and that is Dye.
It's Jermaine
Dye,
right,
who has taken over in right field for Dwight Smith.
He's one of their bright prospects. He's really a good-looking player, Jermaine Dye. He's still a couple years away from the big leagues, but you're gonna remember that name.
And Dye is spelled D-Y-E. And now the batter will be a pinch hitter for the New York Mets.
Yeah, this is Pedro Grifol, Ralph. This is a player who was in the Minnesota Twins organization. We took him in the Rule 5 draft this year for $12,000. He's a good catcher and thrower, and he's another guy who, if he hits, will play. But he can catch and throw. I would say to you that chances are this year he will probably be catching for the Binghamton Mets.
Pedro Grifol, and he takes the first pitch for a ball one. Big kid, isn't he?
Yes, he went to Florida State University, right, a couple of years ahead of Paul Wilson.
Talking about catching, Todd Hundley.
Todd, we're just going to bring along slow here. He's not going to play in a lot of the early exhibition games. You know, everybody here believes he'll be ready on April the 1st, but for the first 10 days of the exhibition games, you will not see him very often, if at all.
So Pedro Grifol, the batter for the New York Mets, a count 1 ball and 1 strike, and he misses the fastball. It's 1-2.
You know, the minor leagues, Ralph, in the last couple of years have really developed a lot of colorful names. And this young man here last year played in the Twins organization, their Double-A team. It's called Hardware City. It's in Connecticut. Used to be the New Britain team, but they changed their name to Hardware City. So that's where he played last year.
1 ball, 2 strikes, and strike 3 called. So Brad Woodall works a 1-2-3 inning with a strikeout. And after 4.5 innings, it's the New York Mets 2 and the Atlanta Braves 1. Bottom of the 5th inning, the Mets leading by a score of 2-1, and we have with us Joe McIlvaine. And Joe, a rather interesting experiment taking place this spring.
Yeah, Ralph, the umpires, there you see Bruce Fremming, who's been a veteran certainly in the National League for many years. 2 National League umpires this year, Jerry Crawford and Charlie Williams, will spend 2 weeks of the spring training in Japan this year, and 2 American League umpires as well, in return for 4 umpires from Japan coming over, and they will umpire. In fact, they have a couple of the Met games this spring too. So it's the first time that this has happened. It's an interesting experiment in international baseball.
Is it a international strike zone? Is the same strike zone in Japan as it is here in the United States? New pitcher in the game for the New York Mets and doing the play-by-play is Fran Healy.
Okay, Ralph, last minor now in the ball game for the Mets. See his stats right there. 4 wins, 2 losses last season. As Ralph mentioned, Joe McIlvaine here in the booth talking about his '96 New York Mets.
The batter here is a former Met. We got this guy in a trade with the Padres. And then he became a 6-year renewal free agent last year. The Braves signed him. and he had a pretty good year in double and triple A last year. Pablo Martinez.
0-2 on Martinez. Fouls a tough pitch off right there.
The last minor, of course, features that forkball, and we don't have too many pitchers on our team that really have that forkball, and he's probably the one pitcher on the team who favors it the most.
Acevedo said he's trying to stay away from the forkball here in spring training so he doesn't re-injure that elbow.
With his stuff, he doesn't need it.
Did he go around? No, says the third base umpire, Paul Nart. So it's 1-2 on Martinez.
Fran, Pedro Grifol stayed in the game as the catcher, so he'll be hitting the nice spot.
And the 1-2 pitch, jammed. Looper, right center field, base hit. So Martinez picks up a base hit. It's opening day here in spring training for the Mets taking on the Braves. How about opening day, April 1st against those Cardinals at Shea Stadium? It'll be the Mets and the Cardinals. Catch all the action right here on Sports Channel if you can't make it out to the ballpark. A lot of enthusiasm concerning ticket sales, Joe, for the young Mets.
Yeah, I think that ticket sales are picking up. I think as you see the team a little bit and hear about more of them in spring training, I think they'll pick up even more. There's a lot of anticipation this year. It's really going to be exciting to watch these young pitchers develop. And of course, pitching's the heart of the game, Ralph. You know, so we're really eager and looking forward to the season.
Jerome Walton, the batter. They check Martinez at first base. Nobody out. We're in the bottom of the fifth inning, 2-1. The Mets on top of the Braves.
Well, certainly the second half of the season, when you brought up Pulsipher and Isringhausen, showed that these young players certainly have the love of the game at this point, and they're certainly wonderful to watch.
It's been a pleasure working with them, too. You can't beat youthful enthusiasm, and the camp is just full of enthusiasm. And it's, I think Dallas and his staff have really had a very enjoyable spring training thus far.
There was certainly a new energy level when Isringhausen and Pulsipher came up to the major leagues. Now you got Wilson joining the ball club. Wilson pitched the first 2 innings here this afternoon, threw the ball very well. Walton bunts the ball and kicks it. Was he out of the batter's box when he did it? Bruce Froemming says no. So Walton will come back. Ralph, maybe you were right about that Jerome Walton base hit his last time up.
Boy, he is an infield hit man and a bunter. There's no doubt about that. 30 infield hits in 1989 when he was Rookie of the Year with 18 bunts. Of course, he doesn't drive in many runs, and that led to his demise. He went back to the minor leagues, finally has resurrected.
His first year was his best.
Yeah.
Well, he has a 1-1 count on him. Nobody out here in the fifth inning. And Minor checks Martinez at first base.
Blas Minor's another pitcher we have to watch very carefully. He's out of options right now, and you know, if we're going to take 10 or 11 pitchers, he's going to be 10 or 11, and so he's got to fight to make the staff this spring.
Swung on and missed. So 1-2.
Joe, you signed an awful lot of 6-year minor league free agents. Is that a new trend in baseball, signing up ball players who have had chances in the major leagues and hadn't really made it?
Well, after you've played 6 professional seasons, and if you are not on a major league roster, you are declared a 6-year renewal free agent. And last year, I believe there were 450 players declared as such. So there was a big pot to choose from, and it's a real good group to go after, because out of that 450, there are some who are going to help major league teams, and there's been some pretty good signings out of those 6-year renewal players. So you can bring them in, sign them to either a major league or minor league contract, and sometimes you catch lightning in a bottle.
Guy that comes to mind, Dave Hollins.
Yeah, Dave Hollins was one. He was a Rule 5 draft, actually, Frank.
1-2. Walton hits the ball hard to left field. Ochoa came in, and the ball goes over his head. Martinez should score. Being waved around third. Throw from Ordonez. A little bit off the mark, and the Braves tie the ball game up. So Jerome Walton driving in the tie-in run here in the 5th inning.
Well, one thing you can notice right here, if you're picking up on what happens to the relay red. Now watch the throw by Ordonez. He guns this thing home. It's a bullet. It's just offline, or they would have had him at home plate. So now you got a chance to see the kind of arm he has.
The guy that threw it to him, too, also has a gun. Ochoa might have the best arm of all the outfielders.
And a ball bounces back to the backstop. So wild pitch from Blas Minor.
You know, Blas Minor, as I mentioned earlier, is the type of pitcher who's a feel pitcher because his key pitch is really that split finger pitch. And those are the type pitches that take longer in spring training to develop because it's a feel pitch. They always say that spring training is for pitchers. And last year with the 3-week spring training that we had, a lot of these type of pitchers were not ready when the season began. And it just takes a little longer. You have to progressively watch a pitcher like this. A lot of times his early outings are not that good.
Down low, so it's 2 balls and no strikes. Infield in. Laying on the edge of the grass. A fastball for a strike, so it's 2-1. Jody, have your sights set on one particular thing? It seems like you're in the wrong division as far as the Braves are concerned. After that wild card.
Well, you try and beat the best. You know, the world champions are in our division, Fran. So, you know, we'll try and go at them head-to-head. I don't think there's a player on this team that doesn't think that they can't go in there head-to-head and compete with them. And that's half the battle.
Remember, 6 years ago, you told me the Braves were ready to blossom. And boy, did they. Right back to Minor. Third, then the plate. They got him. So Walton cut down at the plate. Good play by Blas Minor, getting the ball to Husky. The Husky on in.
The only thing you wanted Minor to do, and that was kind of run at the runner a little bit and force him back a little bit. You know, he just threw the ball quickly to Husky, and the runner took off for home on that. You want to get the runner in a rundown heading toward the third base rather than home plate.
It's amazing for two weeks straight you work on that play. And the first time it happens in a game, here it is.
See, Walton froze there. He didn't move at all, where the pitcher on that play needs to run right at the runner, directly at him, force him back toward third, throw the ball, make the play at third. If you're going to be safe and gum the play up, you want to do it at third, not at home.
You try to do it with one throw.
Right.
As Robert Smith steps in. He takes down low. Ball 1.
This guy played in the Southern League in Greenville last year and had a real good year, and he's one of their bright prospects as well.
Joe, do most general managers go around to the minor league teams the way you do? You seem to enjoy that.
Well, I've always made it a practice to see every one of our clubs, from the rookies on up through the AAA. You've got to know what you have. You've got to know what's coming along. I think it's, as a young ball player, it's important for you to be able to see the people that come around and take an interest in your ball club. And I've always done it. You know, I don't know what other general managers do, but I know what I need to do, and that's to see all the clubs and all the players on those clubs.
And a 2-0 pitch outside. So 3 balls and no strikes on Robert Smith.
You'd be surprised, Fran, how many times when you're talking trades with other ball clubs that the names of lower minor leaguers come up. And you really need to know who they are and what they're capable of doing, because sometimes you have to make split decisions, split-second decisions.
There's a strike. 3-1 on Robert Smith. How about yourself, Joe, as far as going around and right now, do you remember certain guys you were able to pick up because of your travels, knowing the players?
Oh, sure. And sometimes you see players from other teams that catch your eye, too, and you store that away in your memory or you write it down, and when the time comes, sometimes that's a player you can get in the trade, too.
Runner going, ball foul out of play.
I remember one. I guess the one I remember was years ago, we had a player on the Mets named Tucker Ashford, and he was a third baseman. And the day before the season was to begin, George Brett of the Kansas City Royals broke his hand, and the Royals needed a third baseman, and I called them up and offered them Tucker Ashford because he was an extra player for us, and we were trying to cut our squad down at the time. And we had seen a pitcher the day before in the minor league camp. Our minor league teams had played the Kansas City Royals teams, and we saw a pitcher who pitched in Boise, Idaho, I think the year before, named Tom Edens, and he threw well. And we said, well, I'll trade you Ashford if you have to have him for tomorrow's game, and give me a guy named Tom Edens. And the general manager didn't even know who Tom Edens was.
Oh boy.
And said, okay, I got to have the third baseman. But it was just, you know, fortuitous. You'd seen him the day before pitching against your minor league ball clubs.
Right now, there are 2 men gone here in the 5th inning. We're in West Palm Beach, Florida. Hope you're enjoying the Mets' first spring training game, taking on the Atlanta Braves right here on Sports Channel. First of 4 telecasts this spring here on Sports Channel. Be back at you next week from Fort Lauderdale, Florida on Saturday when the Mets take on the Birds from Baltimore. Tyler Houston picks up a base hit in the right center field. So the Braves now will have runners on first and third with 2 men out.
Well, here he comes, friend. Wonderful, terrific Mons the third.
You're gonna love it. What a name. The third is the best. Wonderful Mons. Is terrific his middle name?
Terrific is his genuine middle name.
You gotta love it.
How about W.T. Bonds? Wouldn't that be a little bit easier?
Ralph, if he can hit, they'll come up with something. Don't worry.
0-1 on Wonderful. We're all tied up at 2 here in the 5th inning, and Mons takes down low. 1-1. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Foul out of play.
Fran, do you know how that name came about?
Give it to us.
His father had, his great-grandfather had 11 or 12 girls and suddenly had a boy, and he named him Wonderful Terrific.
So he was happy about it.
I would say so.
That explains everything.
Wonderful, terrific Mons has a 1-2 count. 2 men are gone. We're in the 5th inning here in West Palm Beach. Braves share this home with the Montreal Expos. And ball is blocked. And the play at the plate, safe. Ball didn't get that far away. Good hustle. And the Braves have taken the lead 3-2.
That's a play the pitcher has to be there. You just have to be there on that pitch. He just didn't get in there quick enough.
Well, Graffinino quickly taking advantage of the ball bouncing away. As you can see, it was blocked by the catcher. The toss to Minor is a good toss, but Minor not covering in time to get there to make the play. And the Braves now have taken the lead by a score of 3-2.
Whenever you throw a pitch in the dirt and there's a man on third, your instinct immediately has to be to break for the plate.
Well, Mons still at the plate. 2-2 count. Tyler Smith down on second base. And Mons fouls the ball off. So we'll do it again at 2-2. The one thing you remember about the first game in spring training is the scorecard.
Why is that, Fran?
Latin was easier than keeping score. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Strike 3, says Bruce Fromme. That must be the new strike zone. So the Braves strand a runner. Mr. McElvain, it is always a pleasure. We want to thank you very much for joining us. Of course, good luck during the spring here, and of course the opening of the '96 season.
Thank you, Fran. Thank you, Ralph. It's a pleasure. Hope we can do it again.
And we'll be back. back here in West Palm Beach, Florida. Hope you're enjoying the action here on Sports Channel, the Mets and the Braves. That young man wants a baseball, Ralph. How about that?
He's got one. That's easy.
And Gary Thurman leads it off for the Mets, and he loops the ball into left field. Base hit. In the bottom of the 5th inning, the Braves came up with 2 runs to take the lead, 3-2. Now the Mets come out, get the leadoff man on here in the 6th, and it'll bring to the plate Ray Ordonez, who's 2 for 2 in this ball game. We're joined in a minute by the general manager for the Atlanta Braves, John Sherhouse. Sure, John would like to see a lot of Ray Ordonez. Pitches inside. Mr. Sherhouse, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. The Braves, obviously you didn't have to make many changes coming into this season.
Not really. We had to make one. That was the trade of Kent Mercker for financial reasons only, to accommodate the re-signing of McGriff and the extension of Grissom, and give us a little more flexibility financially. And we've got a kid named Jason Schmidt, who we feel is capable of stepping into the 5th spot. So
he was brilliant here today, striking out 5 out of 6 batters.
yeah, the kid's got a great arm, and you saw that today, of course. And we think he can be a fine 5th starter for us.
Ordonez takes a strike. What are your reports on Ordonez? Do you care about the reports other than your teams, Mr. Sherhouse?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, that's how we do our business, and we care about the reports. And this guy's reputation, especially as a defensive player, has been pretty universally good and high. And ever since he signed, and he's worked his way up the ladder, and everybody knows a lot about him.
Pops the ball up there. Easy play. So that'll be 1 out. John, we were talking to Joe McElvain about the hat in which Ordonez's name was picked out. Ralph asked him if all the teams had their name in the hat. You guys didn't have it?
No, we didn't. And there weren't a large number of clubs in that lottery process. I mean, I think there were only a handful of clubs that had opted to be a part of that. And it was an early tryout camp, or a little bit of a workout, if you will. And then the clubs decided whether or not they wanted to pursue it. So obviously the Mets were one, and made a good choice, or had a lucky choice maybe when the name was pulled out of the hat, whatever.
There's your manager, Bobby Cox, looking on. Kevin Robeson, the batter.
Well, the Mets certainly have had a fortuitous lottery-type pick, in as much as the Mets got Tom Seaver out of a lottery pick, a hat trick from the Atlanta Braves, who signed him illegally. You weren't involved with Atlanta at that time, and the Mets got one of the great pitchers that way.
He was the runner to throw second base. Not even close, as Thurman had a huge jump off first base.
I happen to remember that lottery pick. I was with the Baltimore Orioles, and we did, in fact, have interest in that young man, Mr. Seaver. But, of course, he ended up with the Mets.
Talking to John Sherhouse, general manager with the Atlanta Braves. He's done an outstanding job since coming down from those Kansas City Royals. Never thought John Sherhouse would leave the Royals.
Neither did John Sherhouse, Fran.
And they checked Thurman at second base. So you're telling me that general managers can be bought? I'm surprised at that.
Well, it just became time for me to go. It was apparent there that the Royals needed a change in, sort of direction and some fresh blood, whatever. And it was good for me, and I had a marvelous opportunity offered in Atlanta, so it worked out real well.
1-1 pitch, hit hard, but foul. So 2-2 on Robeson. Talk about Fred McGriff. As far as re-signing him, there were some question marks, I guess, at least with the media last year. Were there question marks with John Sherhouse?
Well, the question marks had only to do with finance. I mean, obviously, you'd be a fool not to want Fred McGriff on your club, and we did, but we didn't know if we were going to be able to accommodate his contract. We had a meeting with our owner, Ted Turner, after we won the World's Championship, and Ted was very willing to try as much as we could to continue with this club, keeping it intact. And that kind of support allowed us to make the financial commitment necessary to keep Fred. Obviously, as I said earlier, we had some of the money we were able to get from the Mercker trade that we were able to use. So You know, he's a great guy. He's in the middle of our lineup. He sets our whole lineup up and makes our whole lineup better, really.
Well, Robeson struck out right there. And John, you talking about financial commitments. You did something with Chipper Jones that I guess was somewhat of a surprise, although I thought he should have been a Rookie of the Year. You signed him to a long-term deal.
Well, actually, yeah, it's not as much of a surprise today as it might have been 2-3 years ago. A number of clubs have pinpointed their young players. And you take a little bit of a gamble, but you try to avoid the arbitration process, which is very contentious and awfully leaves negative results. And it's very costly to clubs. So we highlighted Chipper obviously as one of the key guys for our future. And we were very glad to get him signed to that contract, as he was very glad to sign it.
There he is right there. Chipper Jones, as I mentioned, I thought he should have been Rookie of the Year last year. Hideo Nomo won the award. Chipper Jones had a terrific season. Butch Husky is the batter. 1-1 count. 2 men are out. In the top of the 6th inning, 3-2 ball game. Braves on top of the Mets, and Husky takes outside 2-1. John, we were talking to Joe McElvain about Butch Husky. He's out of options. When a player is out of options, do other teams follow him closely in spring training?
Sure. And we have a fella, Tyler Houston, who's now playing first base for us, who's in the same boat or predicament, however you choose to say it. And clubs understand that. They know who the out-of-option guys are, and they know who are going to have to be traded if they can't make the ball club. So, yeah, there's a lot of, I'm sure there are a number of scouts here watching Husky as they are watching Houston and other fellows in a similar circumstance.
Right now, Husky with a 2-2 count. In this ball game, he has a base hit. Hit the ball sharply his last time up into left field, driving in a run. And a 2-2 pitch. Husky takes inside, 3-2. Any surprises for fans throughout baseball as far as your ball club is concerned this year?
Fran, not really. It's going to be pretty much the same cast that we played with last year. Lopez catching, McGriff at first, Lemke, Blauser, Chipper Jones, Klesko, Grissom, and Justice.
Husky hits a ground ball to short. Long throw first in time. So Martinez throws out Husky. That'll do it for the Mets. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning here on Sports Channel. It's 3-2 Braves. Oh, back here in West Palm Beach. Not a real great day for Florida, Mr. Sherhouse.
No, but a lot better than the alternative everywhere else in the country, it seems like. So we'll take it. It's not bad.
Well, Jeremy Dye, the batter, takes ball 1. Big prospect.
Big prospect. We like him a lot. He's growing each and every year. He
just had his bat sawed off right there. Line drive to Alfonso, 1 down. I can relate to that.
You know, John, one of the most amazing feats that you have accomplished with the Atlanta Braves is the fact that you kept that ball club in contention every single year for such a long period of time.
But that really has been a challenge, Ralph. I appreciate that. It's been a challenge. It's a challenge for every general manager now. Once you have a good club, is to keep them together, because of the cost of the darn roster and the free agency available to players and all that. We were able to make some decisions about long-term contracts early on with some of our pitchers, and we acquired Maddox, of course, and then made the deal for McGriff. And we've got some young guys in the mix, so it's been very fortunate for us that over the 5-year period we've been able to keep this good club together.
And the one thing about it is the players that you have on that ball club, the 2 players you acquired, McGriff and Maddox, are outstanding persons.
Yeah, they really are. They're great people, great guys on the club and in the clubhouse.
There's 2 outs right there as Darren Cox grounds out. And our next spring training game here on Sports Channel, Mets against the Orioles. That's next Saturday, March 9th, 7 p.m. Sports Authorities game time. We'll come at you at 6:30. That's exclusively right here on Sports Channel. You're home for the 1996 Mets baseball season. You can see that game will be replayed here on Sports Channel the following day, Sunday. We have 2 men out. The Braves and the Mets from West Palm Beach, Florida. Ralph Kiner with Fran Healy. Howie Rose will be joining us later on during spring training. And we have the general manager for the Atlanta Braves in the booth, John Sherhouse. The batter now, Pablo Martinez, and he fouls the ball out.
Actually, it's Mike Mordecai who is the batter right now.
Pablo batting 9th.
This young man did a great job for us last year as a rookie, coming off the bench and pinch hitting, get some real big pinch hits for us throughout the year and in postseason play. He really handles himself very well in that backup role for a young guy.
It's an 0-1 count facing Blas Minor. He takes outside, 1-1. It's interesting as a player when you come down to spring training, if you're a big star like Mr. Kiner was, you come down, you relax, you play yourself into shape, get ready for the season. Other guys are trying to make the team, living on the edge. A lot of pressure, a lot of anxiety.
Right, and I think that's the appeal of spring training for the fans, and not so much for the players who are on the edge, of course, but you know, that's part of the tension of spring training and part of the allure of spring training, to see who can make the club, who can break through.
It's now 3-1 on Mordecai.
Also, spring training is for the general managers of ball clubs. They don't have to sweat out the ball games. You can sit back and enjoy baseball and say, well, we don't have to win this ball game. We'd like to, but we'll wait till the regular season comes around.
You're absolutely right about that. And more importantly, Ralph, in this day and age with arbitration and contract negotiations and agents and all that during the winter, spring training marks the start of real baseball, where you can sit back and enjoy the beauty of the game, what baseball is all about. That's what's appealing to me. That's what spring training means.
3-2 pitch. And Mordecai takes strike 3. So that'll do it for the Braves here in the 6th inning. We've played 6 here in West Palm Beach, the Mets and the Braves. And it's the Braves 3, New York 2. Well, promotional consideration provided by the beautiful hotel in Stuart, Florida, the Indian River Plantation Beach Resort. There's the 1-800 number. You can see it if you look right over those trees. You see all the way up to Stuart, Florida. It's just a gorgeous place. So if you're thinking on a vacation, come down and watch the Mets in Port St. Lucie, call that 1-800 number. There's a couple people right there making reservations, Ralph.
Well, that's instant response right
Yes,
there.
sir. There's a 1-800 number. There's a ground ball to second base. And Chris Jones is throwing at it first. 1 down. New pitcher Joe Borowski. John Sherholz, tell us about him.
Joe's one of the fellows we acquired from the Baltimore Orioles in the Kent Mercker deal. He pitched at AAA Rochester last year and finished the year with the Orioles in Baltimore, and went to winter ball and improved upon a fork ball, split finger pitch, and ended up with 12 saves as a closer over there. We like him, and he's in the running for one of our last 2 pitching spots on the club.
He attended Rutgers University. He throws a slider there to Alex Ochoa. 0-1. Now we talked to Joe McElvain about some of his talent today. What would be a report you guys would have on Alex Ochoa?
Well, Alex is a very talented, strong player, has a lot of tools, and when he came up in the Oriole organization, everybody had their eye on him as a young man who was blessed with a lot of physical talent and had some potential to be a very exciting major league player. Provided, of course, he can make that transition from the minor leagues to the major leagues and deal with the competition at this level. But he's got the tools, no question about it.
Well, he has a 1-1 count, 1 man gone here in the top of the 7th inning. Joe Borowski's pitch, down low, 2-1. We just had a shot of Bobby Cox on the screen, and I thought it was a terrific transition that you and Bobby made working together, because obviously Bobby was here as a general manager before you got here, as Ochoa takes inside 3-1. Was it difficult?
Not at all, because of Bobby. A lot of guys could have made that more difficult for me, because he's the guy who sat in that chair as general manager for 5 years and was very gracious.
Scored 5-3. Ochoa's out, 2 down.
Very gracious with me in that whole transition process. Bobby and I had known each other from our days in the American League. I've always had great admiration for him, and in fact, truth be known, I tried to hire him as a manager when he was the general manager of the Atlanta Braves. But in any event, it was easier for me because he's the kind of guy he is, and just a wonderful guy to work with, and a real knowledgeable baseball guy.
Bobby Cox was a member of the Yankee organization and had to give it up because of his bad legs, doing a great job managing the Braves as Edgardo Alfonso fouls it off.
He also started out with the Dodgers.
That's right, did indeed.
Infield.
Played against Bobby Cox, John. In fact, you were the farm director in Kansas City, I believe. Well, yes, you were. When we played the game, we played the Junior World Series. Bobby was playing for Syracuse. I was playing for Omaha.
That's right.
Dennis Papke was our leader.
Right.
Here's a drive to left field. Wonderful Mons makes the catch, and that'll do it. I want to thank John Sherholz, an old friend who's done a terrific job. Kansas City and Atlanta. John, good luck this year. And Mr. Kiner will stay with us. You stay with us, aren't you?
I certainly will stay with you.
Okay, well, the score is 3-2 Braves, and we'll be back. Stay tuned. Well, back here in West Palm Beach, Florida, a Met fan. How about that? He dressed for this game. They might put him in. They got everybody else in this game, Ralph.
A lot of changes for the New York Mets. A new pitcher in the ball game for the Mets. Thomas seemed to be a little foliage growing there. At second base, we have Jerry Brown taking over for Alfonso. There's the governor. And at first base, Tim Bogar replacing Jones at first base. And out in center field, Kevin Flory has taken over there.
And Pablo Martinez, the batter. From Jerry DiPaolo, he takes a strike, so it's 0-1. Butch Husky way in on the grass. And they're trying to bring Ochoa in from left field. So Pablo not putting any fear into the heart of the Met defense as far as that left field is concerned. It's now 1-1 on Pablo Martinez.
Four and 6 and 2 saves for the New York Mets.
Pitch is down low to Martinez, 2-1. We hope to have Paul Wilson later on in the show. Paul Wilson pitched the first 2 innings, threw the ball well, impressed Met General Manager Joe McIlvaine, and I'm sure Dallas Green. The other guy that the Mets were focusing on down here, Ray Ordonez, with 2 hits in the game. He is out of the game now. Luis Rivera, as Ralph told you, is at shortstop. It's now 2-2 on Martinez. But if you've been to Port St. Lucie, you know what we're talking about as far as that enthusiasm is concerned. That's about as much as I've seen in many, many years, Ralph, as far as spring training. Of course, you got to have enthusiasm in spring training.
One thing about spring training, you have enthusiasm and you also have optimism. If you can't be optimistic in spring training, when can you?
That's right. Up the middle, Rivera unable to come up with it. So a base hit. Pablo Martinez leading off here in the 6th inning. Okay, we got a man who pitched very well here the first 2 innings of this ball game, Paul Wilson. Paul, congratulations. Did you have the same butterflies as you would have during the season because it was the opening of spring training?
I don't know about the beginning of the season, but I certainly had some butterflies. You know, tossed and turned a little bit last night, but I tried not to build it into something that it really wasn't. You know, I mean, I know it was an important game for me, but I just had a job to do and just tried to go out and do it the best I could.
How'd you feel?
I felt real good. As far as performance-wise, you know, I thought it was pretty mediocre. You know, I threw some pretty good strikes, but as far as my attitude and my approach to the game, I thought was real well, and that's what makes me pleased.
And a pitch inside, so it's a 1-0.
Control was good. 1 strikeout. Didn't have any problems with walking any batters. How'd you feel about your location?
I felt pretty good. You know, Pav was telling me just go out there and try to throw strikes and don't try to nitpick around the corners, and that's all I'm trying to do is just trying to get my arm in strength and use the fastball and change up. And I threw 2 curveballs, which were not very good, but that's why I'm here, and that's what I'm trying to do is just work on the stuff that I need work on and my weaknesses, and that is part of my weakness is the curveball. So I threw it twice and didn't throw very good, but that's what I'm here, and that's what I'm trying to do is get that thing over.
What do you think of all the attention as far as Paul Wilson, Jason Isringhausen, and Bill Pulsper is concerned?
Well, I think it's very exciting. You know, it's an honor to pitch with those 2 guys. I mean, we're all 3 different personalities and 3 different pitching styles, and we enjoy being around each other, so figure that out. You know, they're 2 great guys and 2 great pitchers, so it's going to be a fun year.
Could Paul Wilson be the opening day pitcher against the Cardinals April 1st?
That'd be nice, but I don't think so. You know, these guys, some of these other guys have put their dues in, and I'm the rookie here, so I'll take whatever start they give me. Let's put it that way. But it would be nice. It would be nice for sure.
Seems like just a couple of years ago. It was a couple of years ago. Seems like yesterday you were up here in the Sports Channel booth when they were playing, the Mets were playing the Marlins. And you seemed as confident then as you do today. Did you think it was going to take you such a short period to get to the major leagues?
Well, I don't know about short. It seemed like a long time to me, but you know, I really didn't have a very accurate timetable. You know, I didn't know how to gauge it. Like I said, this is, you know, first time I've been doing this, and all these other guys have been doing it for so much longer that I have no way of gauging anything. But it certainly is exciting being up here and playing with 2 other guys like Izzy and Pulse that are young, and it's nice to experience with some other guys. I mean, this whole team's a young team, so it's going to be an exciting time.
You see Dallas Green right there on the monitor. Dallas Green told Joe McIlvaine the other day, Paul, to pencil, not to pencil you into the lineup, but to put you in the lineup in ink. There's a ground ball to third base. Booted by Husky, his second error of the game. And Paul, talking about defense, we just mentioned Butch Husky. What about Ray Ordonez?
Well, there's one play that I can say that to describe him. We were in Richmond last year, and there was a bouncer above the pitcher's head, took 2 or 3 bounces behind the pitcher's mound. He came, was in a full-out dive, caught the ball, threw it at the same time, and his feet never touched the ground. It was the most incredible thing I've ever seen, and I mean, he's just exciting to watch. It's unfortunate that he didn't make that play the first ground ball, but I mean, that's
he made an error. Here we are. We're talking about how great he is as a fielder and whatever. And the first play he gets in his major league uniform, he boots.
Oh, that's all right. If that's only one, I won't be too disappointed in that. I mean, sure, he's a little bit nervous out there as well, but he's a tremendous shortstop, and he is so exciting to watch. I can't wait to see him make some great plays.
The one thing that really was disappointing to us about your performance, Paul, was the fact we didn't get to see you bat.
That might have been good. You didn't get to see that. That might have been good. So.
Paul, what was it like? Your emotional. How were you emotionally going against the Braves, even though it's spring training?
I really didn't have a game plan when I came in there today. I was just going to go out there and try to be Paul Wilson, and I think right before the first inning, I got this feeling where I wasn't going to let these guys intimidate me. I wasn't let these guys, scare me into throwing things that I'm not capable of doing. And I felt that was what I was most pleased about today, is that, my performance I thought was good, but my attitude towards pitching against the world champs was something that I really didn't expect, and I'm glad that it came on now than later on in the season. So today was a definitely learning experience, mentally more than physically, but, sometimes that's part of pitching, I guess.
Tyler Houston will be the batter now for the Braves. We're talking to Paul Wilson, who pitched 2 fine innings here in West Palm Beach, Florida. The Braves now with the bases loaded here in the 7th inning. They have a 1-run lead. Tyler Houston takes the ball, so it's 1-0 on the Brave first baseman. Paul, did you think you were going to pitch more than 2 innings?
No, Pav said that we were going to just throw 2 innings. That was it.
Here's a double play. Should be a double play. And Bogart does the job. The Mets turn to double play. I want to thank Paul Wilson again. Congratulations on your first outing, Paul.
Thanks a lot.
Continued success. You're watching New York Met baseball here on Sports Channel. After 7, it's 3-2 Braves. Two and 0 on Kevin Flora. Just tuned in, the Braves and the Mets coming to you from West Palm Beach Municipal Stadium. As Flora takes down low, so it's 3-0. Joe Borowski still on the mound for the Braves. See, Ralph, you never had to go through this when you played. You played those first 2 innings. There's a strike. You left the ball game. You went to the beach. You relaxed.
I wish that were true.
Come on.
I tell you, one time when we trained in Havana, Cuba, and that was an experience in itself.
There's an extra base hit down left field line for Kevin Flora. So Flora leading off the 8th inning with a double.
Boy, it was a screaming double, his first at bat. He really put some wood on that. Let's take a look at it on the replay. Fastball out over the plate, and there was no doubt about it. Right down the left field line for a 2-base hit. The Mets now had the time run at second with no one out, batting in the top of the 8th inning.
Pedro Grifol, the batter. And the first pitch of Grifol is off the plate. 1-0. In spring training, we talked about it earlier. When you're a star player like Mr. Kiner was, you come down to spring training, get yourself in playing shape, play a couple innings here and there. You go to the beach. About 2 weeks prior to the season, you show up and take it seriously. Outside, 2-0. Then you get the young players and the guys that are hanging on. They're going to come to the ballpark ready every day. They get in the game at about the 5th, 6th inning. Jobs on the line.
You'll have people believing that.
I know one thing, it was the truth when I was playing. There was a looper into foul territory down the right field line.
When we trained in Havana, Cuba, it was 1953. And that was the year I held out. Mr. Branch Rickey was the general manager of the ball club, and he had sent me a contract for a 25% cut after I had led the league in home runs for the 7th consecutive year. And I held out and held out. Finally, I signed, and I arrived the day before they started the spring training games. The next day, I played in that spring training game, and I played 9 innings without any previous workouts.
Ground ball is short. Or the first score at 6-3 on the ground out. Flora moves to third base.
Incidentally, I had to take the 25% cut to play in that ball game.
And you're still bitter, I can tell.
I'm not bitter. It's just, I'm not really one of Mr. Rickey's admirers.
No, I know you never have been.
He's a fellow that had all the ball players and all the money and never let the two get together.
Well, the batter now is Tim Bogart, infield on the grass. And the first pitch is slider right on the black. 0-1 on Tim Bogart. Spring training, first game of spring training. The Mets and the world champion Atlanta Braves. What a year they had last year. They put it all together.
Yeah, the Mets closed out last year, beating the Braves, sweeping the series.
That was a confidence builder for the Mets. 1-1 on Bogart. Bobby Cox was telling me everything was nice and calm here in West Palm Beach for the Braves. Of course, they did have a little bit of controversy involving David Justice about a week ago as Bogart swings through a fastball. But they said it was blown out of proportion, the controversy, and there was nothing to it. It's kind of died down.
One thing that has taken place here, the Atlanta Braves are not going to train here in West Palm Beach in the future. They're moving out of here for Disney World. They have been here for a long, long time. In fact, they trained here when Perini was the owner of the ball club.
It's tough, especially this day and age, to share a training facility with another major league team, and the Braves do share this facility with the Montreal Expos. Outside, 2-2. In fact, one of the officials here in Palm Beach County said he was upset because they have been bargaining in good faith with the Braves for 2.5 years. Figured eventually they would come to a conclusion.
Ironically, they were going to share the new facility that was to be built with the Montreal Expos.
Fouled back. 2-2. Well, everybody's updating their spring training facilities. It was about time for the Braves and for the Expos to upgrade. And of course, that helped the Braves right there, being the world champions. Braves have very few questions to answer here in spring training. Their bullpen used to be a weak spot, but now it's tough. Here's a fly ball. This should drive in the run. Flora tagging, and it's extra bases for Bogart. And he hustles into third base with a triple. So Tim Bogart driving the ball over Damon Holland's head. And this ball game is tied at 3.
Well, Hollins chases down this ball. It was a breaking pitch that Bogart hit. Hollins did not do a good job on that ball. It bounces down toward the outfield fence, and Bogart ends up with a 3-base hit, and the tying run has been driven across the plate by Tim Bogart in his first at bat of the spring training season.
And the infield's still in. Luis Rivera steps in.
Kevin Flora scoring the tying run from second base.
Rivera bunts the ball right back to the pitcher, and they've got Bogart in a rundown. And he's tagged out by Darren Cox, the catcher, who slid right across the back of Tim Bogart. So Rivera on first base, Bogart going back into the dugout.
Well, this is not a suicide squeeze play. As you can see, Bogart was on third base. So Bogart had no idea that Rivera was bunting, and he bunts it back to the pitcher, and then Bogart is trapped between home in third. That is not Bogar's fault right there. It's just either a miscommunication situation or that Rivera did that on his own. So the Mets lose a chance of getting the run across if it put them out in front.
The better now, Kevin Robeson takes outside ball one. Great to see two Hall of Fame announcers here at the ballpark today. Marty Glickman and also Bob Wolf. Marty working with the announcers at Sports Channel, and Bob Wolf doing a terrific job over at News 12 on Long Island as Robeson takes outside 2-0.
Bob Wolf started his major league broadcasting career with the Washington Senators.
He could sing too.
He carried that ukulele around with him everywhere he goes.
Did a nice job at his induction into the Baseball Hall of Fame last year. And a 2-0 pitch swung on and missed. 2-1. Of course, we've been able to spend some time with Marty Glickman, a man who has seen it all in his business, Mr. Kiner.
Really a dean of broadcasting and a great athlete in his own right.
I was trying to get him to sprint against us down here.
1936 Olympic Games.
Darren Cox coming out of the chute ready to throw as Rivera faked towards second base. So it's 3-1 on Robeson. First casualty of spring training was Charlie Samuels Hare, the clubhouse man for the New York Mets. It was a casualty for him. Last year, when the Mets traded Brett Saberhagen away, Charlie was talking to John Franco. He said, we're going to be lucky to win 20 games the rest of the year. John said, you want to bet? He said, yes. Well, the Mets won more than 20 games. Here in spring training, Dallas Green was having a meeting. Robeson walks, so the Mets have runners on first and second with 2 men out here in the 8th. So Dallas Green is having a meeting. He calls Charlie Samuel out in front of the players and says, Charlie, I want you to tell the players about picture day. Now, Charlie feels this is unusual. He's called out to do it because usually he just walks around screaming it out. They have a chair in the middle of the clubhouse for him. He said, sit down here. Charlie said, I don't want to sit. He said, I'll stand. No, no, he said, sit. He said, as he was sitting, he heard the sound of, here they come. They come out and they shaved his head because that's what he said. I'll shave my head if you win more than 20 games. He forgot about the bet till that day here in spring training. And Charlie, it's not a pretty sight. Butch Husky, the batter. 0-1. And he takes the strike, so it's 0-2 on Butch Husky. We've talked all afternoon about Butch Husky being out of options. And that's going to be a dilemma for the Mets. There's no doubt about it.
Joe McElvain said he'll make the club, and that's one of the reasons why he'll make the club. He's too talented a baseball player to allow to be picked up on waivers. Waivers are a very cheap process. I believe waivers now is $25,000.
Joe did say he's going to make the club. A lot of things can happen, though, between now and April 1st. As I said earlier, I don't think that Butch Husky has been given a full chance. And the Mets need home run. They need some guys that can hit the ball over the fence. They got Jeff Kent and Rico Brogna. Gilkey has some pop as Husky just lined a rocket into the stands here in West Palm Beach.
Well, one thing he did right there in that swing, he was fooled totally by the pitch, but he managed to get enough of the bat in the ball to foul it off and to keep himself alive at the plate. Now, he's way out of bounds, as you can see from the replay, but he got the bat on the ball to foul it off, and that's really a big part of not striking out. It's being able to do that when you're fooled by a pitch.
Well, he stayed alive. Count remains 1-2. 2 men are out. Top of the 8th inning, the Mets and the Braves. First game of 1996 spring training. Way outside with the breaking ball, 2-2.
One thing about pitchers like the Atlanta pitchers in this ballgame that have been brought up from the minor leagues, they know all about a fellow like Husky because they play in the same league, AAA ball. They're in the International League. They know Husky well.
And Husky knows him.
Husky, the MVP of the International League last year.
Doesn't that get you a long look in the major leagues?
It should. Well, the other thing that gets you a long look is the fact that he has tremendous power. He's a potential home run hitter, and the Mets do not have a home run hitter in their lineup.
His biggest problem was the day he was called to the big leagues. He faced Darryl Kyle.
Well, that was something else. Kyle pitches a no-hitter against the team.
Struck him out 3 times. He said, this big leagues is tough.
He was awesome that day. He had a great curveball, that Kyle. He hadn't pitched well since.
No, there's a drive to center field. Hollins in pursuit and makes the grab. So that'll do it for the Mets here in the top of the 8th inning. We played 7.5 here in West Palm Beach on what turned out to be a beautiful day, and the score, we're all tied at 3. All tied at 3, the Mets and the Braves. Watching all the action on Sports Channel this afternoon. Let's not forget that Carvel Calendar Day, Sunday, April 7th, 1:40 game against the Pirates at Shea Stadium. Ralph, you get that calendar every year. Beautiful calendar the Mets put out.
As a matter of fact, we really do use it because it's very easy to write your appointments on the calendar. Beautiful pictures of New York Mets players and a lot of room. And if you like baseball, perfect.
So that's Carvel Calendar Day. And there's Paul Bird, new pitcher.
2-0 the year with no saves, an earned run average of 2.05. Paul Bird. He will be the 4th pitcher used by the Mets. Paul Wilson went 2 innings, gave up no runs, and allowed no hits in his debut with the New York Mets. He is the great prospect that the Mets have been looking forward to. Chris Nabholz went 2 innings, gave up 1 run on 4 hits. Blas Minor gave up 2 runs on a total of 2 hits, and Jerry DiPoto working in the ball game, giving up no runs on 1 hit.
And Wonderful Mons steps in to face Paul Bird. Wonderful, terrific Mons. There's Uncle Fester. Charlie Samuels does a good job as the man in charge of all the equipment with the Mets. He's relaxed down there. Outside to Wonderful Mons. Tell you about Charlie Samuels in a moment. As you see, Mr. Mons is 0 for 1. For 1-0 count. Fouled out of play. When, in case you just joined us, Charlie Samuel, the clubhouse man with the New York Mets, told John Franco last year when the trade for Brett Saberhagen took place, he said, geez, he said, we got all the young guys now. We won't win 20 more games this year. John said, you want to bet? He said, sure. Well, if he takes that head off, you'll see he lost the bet. Fouled out of play. Charlie said that he was called out of his office by Dallas Green. Said, Charlie, tell the team about picture day. He said, no, I don't have to do that. I'm going to walk around telling people. No, tell them. There's a chair for you. He sat down. As soon as he sat down, he said he heard the sound of the razor. Not the razor, what are those, the clippers, Ralph?
Clippers, I guess, yeah.
Bounce to the 3rd, Husky to 1st, 1 down. So Wonderful, terrific Mons goes back to the dugout. You have to make the big leagues with that name.
And the thing about that name, Wonderful, Terrific, is that it's his given name. It's not a nickname.
And Jeremy Dye will be the batter now. Wonderful, Terrific Mons. The first pitch from Paul Bird. And Dye fouls it off. Wind blowing out to left field. And the 1-1 pitch. Foul out of play. 2-1.
Well, the Mets have announced that they're going to be playing in Mexico in the regular season this year.
We're going to do a game from Mexico.
3 games will be played there.
We look forward to going down there. Ralph, you've been down there.
I have been in Monterrey, Mexico. In fact, I played down there all throughout Mexico, Mexico City, Guadalajara, on a barnstorming trip with Bob Feller back in 1948. And one of the great stories was when we were playing a ball game in Monterrey, all of a sudden they stopped the game. Soldiers that were in the stands came to attention. The left field fence had a gate out there. It was opened up, and the fence behind first base was opened up. And here came two guys in one of those push carts, pumping their way across the railroad tracks that ran across the field and ran right through the ballpark and then out the other side. The gates closed, the game resumed, we kept on playing. I hope we're not playing in that ballpark.
Oh, I'd love to see it. And a 1-2 pitch to Die, way outside, so it's 2-2. Of course, one of the big attractions in Major League Baseball over the years came from Mexico. A southpaw.
Fernando
Valenzuela. And the 2-2 pitch. Bird threw that ball hard, but it missed outside. 3-2. I believe the Padres have a real big promotion going on in Mexico to get people on buses and bring them to the ball game at Jack Murphy Stadium.
Well, Tijuana, of course, in Mexico, not more than about half an hour's drive away from the ballpark in San Diego. But the reason why the Padres are moving their games out of San Diego for the Mets to play in Monterrey, California, Monterrey, Mexico, is the fact that they're having the Republican convention in San Diego, and the ballpark's not available, so they're going to play 3 games down in Mexico in the city of Monterrey, which has a population of about 4.5 million people.
Fouled out a play by Die. Yeah, it's affected the Padres, the Republican convention. How about the Olympics in Atlanta?
Atlanta's going to be a big exodus there as far as baseball is concerned, and the Braves will be out of town while the Olympic Games are going on.
For 21 days. It's a long road trip. Outside, ball 4, so Die walks. And the Braves have to go ahead and run down at first base. How long were the Montreal Expos on the road when their stadium had structural problems?
They were on the road the rest of that season, but another team that because of a convention, Houston was gone. I think they were gone a whole month out of Houston at one time. So baseball being moved around because of outside events and ballparks.
Well, Darren Cox will be the batter facing Paul Bird.
The Mets in spring training played a ball game in Mexico quite a few years ago when Casey Stengel was the manager.
Did they understand Casey better than we did?
No, they didn't understand him either.
0-1 on Darren Cox.
Edna Stengel, Casey's wife, lost her passport, and they almost didn't let her back in the United States. But Casey talked him into it.
Oh, and 1 on the Brave catcher. They check Die at first base.
One of the things about playing in Mexico, Monterrey, of course, is in the mountains, but Mexico City is up in that high altitude, and you can hit balls there that travel forever.
Like Denver. And the 0-1 pitch. Inside, 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, if you missed it, we had Joe McIlvaine with us today. John Sherhouse, general manager of the Mets, Joe McIlvaine, and general manager of the Braves, John Sherhouse. We also had Paul Wilson, who pitched the first 2 innings today. Pitched a good 2 innings. And Cox takes a strike, so it's 1-2. How about Jason Schmidt, who started the ball game for the Braves? He looked good.
Struck out 5 out of the 6 batters he faced. You can't look much better than that.
Joe McIlvaine said they might be the 2 guys fighting for the Rookie of the Year award in the National League. Jason Schmidt and Paul Wilson. Outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Incidentally, an old teammate of mine, briefly a teammate of mine, Vic Janowicz, died during the past week.
Heisman Trophy winner also.
You know how many ball players that have won the Heisman Trophy have played in the major leagues?
Well, let me think about that for a moment. There's foul out of play.
I'll save you the trouble.
1, 2.
Bo Jackson and Vic Janowicz.
Bo Jackson, sure.
But Janowicz wasn't much of a ball player. He was a catcher. And I'll never forget one time we were playing at Ebbets Field, and he was having some trouble with foul balls. He was catching in the ball game, and Hilda Chester, who had the cowbell in Evansfield, yelled out one time when he was going after one of those foul balls, "Signal for a fair catch, Vic."
Bounce back to the pitcher. Bird flips to Bogart. 2 down. Dye was on the move, so he's into second base easily. And we'd like to remind you, this copyrighted telecast is authorized under television rights granted by the New York Mets solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the New York Mets and Sports Channel is prohibited. Keep in mind, next Saturday we'll be right back at you from Fort Lauderdale. Baltimore Orioles taking on the New York Mets. As Paul Bird throws a strike. 0-1. See our old buddy Davey Johnson down there. We got Cal Ripken to look at next week along with Roberto Alomar. And they go to second. Nice play by Rivera, keeping the ball in the infield. And keep in mind, here on Sports Channel, Howie Rose will be joining us later on in spring training. Howie now doing the New York Islanders.
Very close play. Good job on the catch by Rivera. Spent his last year in the minor leagues. Had some pretty good years for the Boston Red Sox.
He's been around. Berto Castillo makes the play to throw to third, not in time. He blocked the ball and came up throwing. Probably has the best throwing arm of all the catchers with the Mets. But they have him penciled in to go into AAA baseball, play in Norfolk.
Had a little time with the New York Mets last year when the Mets had some difficulties with injuries behind the plate. But he is a fine defensive catcher.
And the 1-1 pitch. Line drive, nice play, Rivera. Right place at the right time. That'll do it for the Braves here in the 8th. They strand a runner on third, fail to score. We go to the top of the 9th here in West Palm Beach, and we're all tied at 3. Well, back here in West Palm Beach at Municipal Stadium, the Mets and the Braves all tied at 3. We go to the top of the 9th inning and a new pitcher. What a familiar name, Ralph.
Pedro Bourbon. Of course, his father, a pitcher in the major leagues, renowned pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds. Not many people that followed the Mets back in the good old days of 1973 would forget his dad, who got into a big fight along with Pete Rose and Bud Harrelson. And now his son in the major leagues, Pedro Bourbon.
And the first pitch is to Jerry Brown, down low, ball 1. Braves are very high on Bourbon. They have Mark Wohlers as their closer. To get to Wohlers, they got a hard thrower like Bourbon, who's obviously a left-handed pitcher and has been a guy with a hard slider, good fastball. His dad was a right-handed pitcher with a hard slider and a good fastball. Fouled back. 2-1 on Jerry Brown.
After they finally got the Pete Rose, Bud Harrelson thing settled down, everybody going back to the positions, Pedro Bourbon, the father, grabbed a hat off the field and took a big bite out of it, thinking it was Cleon Jones's hat, and it turned out to be his own.
It's pretty difficult to do, take a bite out of a hat.
Oh, he just chopped it right off.
He also took a bite out of somebody in a fight.
Yeah, he was good at that.
There's a drive down the left field line. This is extra bases for the Governor. He's on his way into second base with a double.
Well, the Governor, and he's known as the Governor because he comes from the Virgin Islands, and he was with the Florida Marlins last year and did a fairly good job with them, and then wasn't signed by the Marlins, and the Mets picked him up as a free agent. So the governor now represents a go-ahead run as the Mets bat in the top of the 9th inning with no one out.
And Alex Ochoa will be the batter. Ochoa 0 for 3 in his ball game, struck out and grounded out twice. Facing Pedro Borbon, and he changes up, and Ochoa fouls the ball out of play. Talking about how people felt the weak spot, the Achilles heel on the Braves club, was their relief pitching until last year. I was always surprised it was considered their weak spot because they had some hard throwers coming out of that bullpen. Inside, 1-1.
One of them from your hometown.
Mark Wohlers, he finally got an opportunity to prove himself. Last year, he took advantage of it.
He can reach 100 miles an hour.
Inside, 2-1. Anybody you've played against reach 100 miles an hour that you knew of? Because, I mean, they couldn't even time guys back then.
Oh, yeah, they timed
Did they?
Yeah, they just get a fast watch, a Mickey Mouse watch, and time them. Sure. I think Rex Barney was the hardest throwing pitcher I ever hit against. And he could get up to 100 miles an hour, but that really isn't the qualification. The qualification is if you can throw from 95 to 100 miles an hour and make the ball move. And that's what counts.
2-2 on Ochoa.
Rex Barney could throw it as hard as anybody alive, but he wasn't hard to hit because he was very straight. Somebody once wrote about Rex Barney. They said if the strike zone were high and outside, he'd be in the Hall of Fame.
Rex Barney now the public address announcer for the Orioles. Long-time public address announcer.
He's been there for a long, long time. Wonderful guy.
2-2 on Ochoa.
Pitched a no-hitter against the Giants.
Ochoa started this ball game still in this game. He's going to get a long look here in spring training. Because if they have to send him back to the minor leagues, he's not going to be happy. He grounds to third. Scored 5-3. Nice play by Smith. And back in game 4 of the World Series in 1995, Pedro Borbon came in and got the job done right here. David Justice making a grab. Kenny Lofton hit that ball. And there's Mark Wohlers, who was running out there to congratulate the southpaw. And there he is right here, live on Sports Channel. Pedro Borbon. He'll take on Alberto Castillo.
He didn't exactly fool that Lofton with that pitch, I'll tell you that.
Castillo fouls the ball back, 0-1. They tell me Lofton's one of the best all-around players in the American League. They say the players rave about him.
And he started in the National League. How about Houston giving up on him?
Bob Watson is now the general manager of the Yankees. Told me that he needed a catcher, so he had to trade him. Inside, 1-1. We're in the top of the 9th inning here in West Palm Beach, Florida. Time was called, no pitch. What do you think of that new strike zone, Ralph? Is it a big deal? Or
I haven't really seen it yet.
Bruce Froemming doesn't think it's a big deal. He said it's only 1.5 inches.
Well, I'll tell you, if they enlarge the strike zone, I think it would speed up baseball. I would disagree with Bruce, but that wouldn't be the first time.
I think they should have just enforced the strike zone the
Well,
way
it's
it
been
is
a rule.
illustrated in the rule book.
That's right. It's letters and knees. That's just the rule.
Umpire's job is to enforce the rules in the rule book.
But you do run into the fact that the interpretation of the rule book is also individual.
Popped up in the infield. Smitty under it, makes the grab. 2 out. Baby could have extra innings written all over it, Ralph.
Only fitting for the first day, first game of 31 in spring training.
And we'll have to get more scorecards.
Little extra time, and the only problem is the Mets will run out of players.
They might bring you down there.
That'd get it over with in a hurry.
Kevin Flora, the batter. Go ahead and run on second base. Breaking ball down and in. 1-0.
Flora stepped up his first time and ripped one to left field and ended up scoring the tying run of this ball game. Double to left field. Driven in by Tim Bogart.
Bone calling Cox out to talk over the signs. That always made me nervous when a pitcher was unsure. You could see it in his eyes, looking in as you're flashing signs, that he was unsure of the signs. What really made me nervous is when he was unsure and he went into the stretch. You knew that there was a chance he was going to cross you up.
How about when you put down all the signs you have and you still can't shake yes?
Oh.
Doesn't want to pitch.
1-0 pitch. Down low, so it's 2-0 on Flora. Up high, ball 3. So 3 balls and no strikes. Lowry on deck. Mets need a run. Flora taking a strike. It's 3-1.
Pedro Bourboin last year had 11 games in relief where he gave up no hits over the 11 games he was in.
Strike 2. Bruce Fromming enforcing that strike zone. Three and 2, 2 outs. Flora gets severely jammed. Tyler Houston makes the grab, and that'll do it for the Mets. They strand a runner on second base. We played 8.5 here in West Palm Beach on a nice day in sunny Florida, and we're all tied at 3. Pablo Martinez with a 1-1 count. Bottom of the 9th inning. Butch Husky playing him way in on the grass. That's the score, 3-3. 8 hits for the Mets, 9 for the Braves. There's a fly ball to right field. Robeson makes the grab. 1 down. Ralph, if we had a play of the game today, it would have to be Ray Ordonez. The first play.
Very first play. In fact, they made an error on the very first chance in the major leagues.
Because people are raving about him. You heard Paul Wilson talk about. He was talking about a play he made last year. Damon Hollins with a 1-0 count. A hard hit ball left field. And a ball scoots past Alex Ochoa. Hollins is safe at second base. Hollins with the head first slide. He scalded that ball in left field.
Well, you just can't hit a ball any harder than Damon Hollins hits this one.
Jerry Brown was a little bit confused whether to come in or go back.
And he thought he was going to play that ball on the bounce, and it was hit so hard it carried even farther than he thought. And he was lucky to actually knock it down and keep it that close and hold Hollins to a double. So now the winning run is at second base with 1 man out in the bottom half of the 9th inning.
Fastball up high. 1-0. Alex Ochoa playing the whole ball game today for the Mets. So is Butch Husky. They are taking a long look at Ochoa and Husky. There's a strike. 1-1. If you heard Dallas Green talking about Ray Ordonez earlier, they have made up their mind about Ordonez as far as playing shortstop. And they have made up their mind about Paul Wilson. There's a fly ball, Ochoa there, and makes the grab. 2 down.
Interesting thing about the fact that Ordonez will be the shortstop if he is the shortstop. Changes the Mets' entire infield alignment, and Jose Vizcaino, who was the Mets MVP last year as a shortstop, will be moved to another position. He's going to be hard-pressed to play.
He'll be a utility player with the Mets. So the most valuable player in the Mets last season finds himself in a utility role because of a shortstop coming up from the minor leagues. It will also trigger some other moves. Alfonso will play second. Kent will move over to third. Alfonso can also play shortstop in third. Hard hit ball up the middle. This should do it. They'll throw to the plate. Not in time. Braves win 4-3. So Paul Bird taking the loss here in the first spring training game. And the Braves victorious. But Dallas Green has to like what he saw today as far as Paul Wilson is concerned. As Ralph, you mentioned to John Sherhouse before, you don't take the wins or the losses to heart. You want to see your players out there, although it does have an effect on some players, whether or not they make the ball club.
Well, spring training is a big decider for players making the ball club. It's also important to win at least the majority of your ball games in spring training. You see Cox and Green talking it over here.
You wouldn't see Dallas Green smiling if this was the regular season and the Mets just lost the ball game in the 9th inning.
Absolutely not.
So Bobby Cox and Dallas Green exchanging pleasantries. This ball game is history. The Mets losing the ball game 4-3. 4 runs, 11 hits and no errors for the Braves. 3 runs, 8 hits and 2 errors for the Mets. But it's been a day where the Mets have brought out the microscope to take a closer look at Ray Ordonez and Paul Wilson. What's the report card read like, Ralph?
Well, of course, it's the first game, and you really can't tell too much. Wilson pitched a very good 2 innings, didn't give up a base hit, didn't walk a batter. He was not overly powerful, but you don't expect him to be throwing as hard as he can throw. He said he only threw 2 curveballs. Usually in the early part of spring training, no pitchers throw curveballs. Very seldom do you see pitchers going to the curveball. They certainly don't throw up to maximum capacity as far as speed is concerned. Ordonez showed that he has a very strong arm from a throw from left field to home plate. It was offline, and he did make an error, but that could happen to anybody. It was a throwing error, as a matter of fact. If you watched him as a scout, you'd say, well, I'd like to see him a little bit more, but boy, he sure looks like he can play.
He really does. Now, if you want to see a contrast in styles, you can look down the field here. Bobby Cox talking to a couple writers over by his dugout. And you look at Dallas Green, he's talking to a lot of people over by his dugout. That's the contrasting styles. New York and Atlanta. Once again, the final score 4-3. The Braves on top of the Mets. And we'll be back. From our center field camera here in West Palm Beach, looking at Municipal Stadium, and there's the final score. The Braves 4, the Mets 3. And I guess as we talked earlier, Ralph, the score really doesn't matter. I mean, you'd like to win the ball game, but early in spring training it doesn't matter, although they get more serious about the wins and the losses in about a week and a half.
Well, there's no question about the fact that the public likes to see their team that they pull for, win ball games, no matter whether it's spring training or not. It does sell tickets for the home team, and it certainly is important to the fans. But the first game of spring training, I don't think anybody worries. The one thing we really want to see is everybody play and not get hurt. No sore arms, nobody coming up with any pulled muscles or anything like that. And it was a well-played ball game, exciting game, and the Mets got to see their 2 phenoms.
And what was ironic is we talked about him and we heard about him and the writers wrote about him and how great he was at shortstop, and he is. Paul Wilson talked about him after he got out of the game today. Ray Ordonez, the first ball hit to the shortstop, he makes an error. I guess that's part of baseball.
Well, that seems to be the way the game is, and the star of the ball game actually was the Atlanta Brave pitcher that started the game, Jason Schmidt. He struck out 5 of the 6 batters he faced, and that would certainly help him in his quest for that 5th starting position.
And on the other side of the field, Paul Wilson pitched 2 fine innings for the New York Mets. Stay with us. Once again, the final score 4-3. The Mets losing to the Braves, and we'll be back. Welcome back to West Palm Beach, Florida, the home of the Atlanta Braves. Sports Channel bringing you the first Mets spring training game of 1996. I'm Fran Healy along with Ralph Kiner. Howie Rose will be joining us later on in spring training. And right now we get a chance to talk to the manager of the New York Mets, Dallas Green. And Dallas, your take on Paul Wilson in today's ball game?
Well, Fran, it's pretty much what we expected. He's a grown man. He's got great work ethic, and I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. I like the way he approached the hitters. You know, they ran a tough lineup out against him, and it was a good test for him. And I thought he handled it very well, very professionally, and I thought his presence on the mound was just about where we expected him to be.
We also were talking, Dallas, everybody has been talking about your shortstop. In fact, you talked about him before the game. The writers have written about him. We talked glowingly about him. And the first thing that happens in the ball game, he makes an error.
Well, that's to be expected. I mean, the kid's under a lot of scrutiny, a lot of pressure, and yet he's handled it very well all through spring training. Everybody wants to write about him. They got great adjectives about him defensively. I was really proud. He played hit and run with me and did a good job, and that shows me that he knows how to play the game, and Ray's going to be fine. He'll be all right.
Now, the hit and run play you talked about was a big part of the ball game, and he hit the ball right through the vacated spot of the shortstop, and he did it like he had rehearsed it all his life.
Well, you're exactly right, Ralph. He's you know, obviously we worry a little bit about his bat. He's got great adjectives coming out of everybody that has seen him talks about his defensive work. But most of the guys that have seen him on a daily basis at the minor league level say that he's not as bad a hitter as some people portray him to be. And I think he's going to grow up here in the big leagues and be a pretty productive player.
Dallas, that seems like a clear-cut decision on your part as far as Ray Ordonez is concerned, and of course Paul Wilson. What about Butch Husky?
Well, I liked what I saw today. He really, you know, Butch has worked very, very hard. We're trying to find a spot for him, a little third, a little first base. He's worked very hard at first base for me, and he's going to play some left field or outfield. Today he played third, and I thought he played very well defensively. I thought he had some good at bats. Butch is the kind of guy that you know, he has to get his feet on the ground. He's had a couple opportunities to be shortened by physical problems, but if we can keep him sound, I think maybe he can be productive for us.
Well, you certainly could use that home run power that he has, and he hit that one ball as one base hit in the ball game. He hit a bullet out the left field. He got a lot of wood on that one.
Well, he did, and he battled to get us a run, and that was a big thing for me too, because sometimes big guys are strikeout guys, but he put the bat on the ball just at the right time. Ralph, he's worked hard this spring. You got to give the kid credit. He's got his back against the wall to a degree. Obviously, we've got some pretty good talent this year, and there aren't a lot of slots open, and I think he knows that. That has given him a little impetus to bust tail a little bit, and I think I've been proud of the way he's handled spring training so far.
Dallas, prior to the game today, Dave Howard, vice president with the New York Mets, was talking to the New York media, and they were asking him about possibly renewing Bill Pulsipher and Jason Isringhausen. Now, you were a management guy, general manager, president of a ball club, and a manager. Can this be a sensitive issue, renewing 2 players?
Well, it's always sensitive when you have young people that. But I think what you have to recognize is it's not the young people that you're talking about. You're talking about an agent here that's controlling their lives right now, and that's the difficult thing for people to understand. It is sensitive. Joe's going to work very hard, I'm sure, to get it done. Dave and Joe, I'm sure, are on top of it. We'll just have to wait to see what happens.
Well, one of the things about renewing a contract, I think that should be explained. It means the Mets can re-sign them at their option. They have to take what the Mets offer them, in as much as their salary does not increase. It stays at what has been offered.
Well, you got to figure though, Ralph, they're not going to starve to death. So, you know,
They certainly aren't.
those kids, you know, they put 90 days, 100 days in the big leagues, and they got to pay their dues a little bit. They showed up very well for that time. We got big expectations for them, but you know, first things first. Let's get our feet on the ground and let's go from there.
Dallas, any concerns on your part that we should know about?
Well, obviously, you know, we still have Pete Harnish coming along a little slow, and that always concerns me. We were hoping that Pete would be a little further along at this stage of spring. I don't sell him short. We still got till October 1st, or I mean April 1st, to get him ready. And I think, you know, the trainers and Pav have him on a good program. We're just gonna cross our fingers and hope for Pete, because he can compete and help us. But at the same time, other than that, I think we're in pretty good shape. We've got a good camp going, and we've got good competition going. I think that's a good thing for the Mets.
Well, Dallas, I want to thank you very much. We'll let you get back inside.
Good.
And our guest, Dallas Green, manager of the New York Mets. If you just tuned in, you missed it. The game's over. 4-3, the Mets losing to the Braves, and we just got through talking to Dallas Green. And I know, Ralph, the Mets, they've been able to handle the stuff with some class, dealing with the players as far as renewing. Now, of course, they never had to really renew guys of this caliber, Isringhausen and Pulsipher, and it was a statement that Dallas Green that caught my attention as far as the agents are concerned. I heard somebody in baseball management getting on agents yesterday.
Well, I think everybody, the agents are the ones who put the thought into the player's head. I'm sure most players like to know what the agent's going to try and get them. In his case, the agent for either one of those ball players, they did not put in a full season in the major leagues, and I think that might be the spot they're contending.
Well, speaking of contending, next Saturday you will catch a lot of action right here on Sports Channel when the Mets take on those contending Baltimore Orioles. So it should be a good ball game. The Mets and the Orioles Saturday, March 9th from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. For Ralph Kiner and the crew here in West Palm Beach, I'm Fran Healy. See you next Saturday right here on Sports Channel.
This has been a presentation of Sports Channel, a tradition of excellence and innovation in regional sports television.